Hey, Sam fans! I wanted to start this episode by shouting out our two certified Sam stands from Patreon, Killabee and Temple Woods. Thanks for subscribing, you guys. And if any of you other listeners would like to support us on Patreon, we have 5 subscription tiers to choose from with tons of awesome extras for you, including early access to weekly episodes, live blogging with other Sam fans and the hosts, 2 extra Patreon podcast episodes per month, and much, much more. Check it out and enjoy this episode of A Sam Girl Retrospective.
As soon as you hit record, it's like, hey, do you want to stay or do you want out of here?
Escape the recording. Some creep is recording you.
Somebody's recording this.
Oh my
Hit
gosh.
okay or get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
We're not saying that to you, Christy. She like enters and we're going, get out.
Get out of here.
Fine.
I'm out.
Apparently, when I hit record, Elle's Zoom meeting warns her and says, do you want to leave?
I
could
joined
have-
too late, so it just warned me that I was signing on to something being recorded.
That's nice. How nice. Everything else is constantly recording us at all times and selling our data, but it's nice that Zoom is like, a human may be recording you on purpose.
Yeah.
Really creepy.
Teams does that too when I'm at work.
Yeah.
It's like, it's being recorded.
Do you want to leave? And you're like, yeah, because this is work and it's
Yeah.
Please.
only stay to be recorded if it's a podcast about Sam Winchester.
That is the rule I live by.
Yeah.
Let's start the episode.
So we've got Elle and Christy with us today and Toilet Cat. She's sleeping. Oh, and is that her? I don't know which one's Feely or Keely.
Yeah, that one's Feely. That one's Keely.
Keely, Miss Toilet Cat. I just,
Yeah.
I'm always forgetting that you name them after the dwarfs from The Hobbit, because well, I don't know about Feely because he's an orange cat, but I feel like Toilet Cat is like much more regal than like the doofus dwarfs from The Hobbit.
If it was easier to color soot spray, I would have, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it?
You could just go. Tss. It is the year of the snake. You can start hissing at her.
Good point.
Also, Ella, I love your nails. What's happening there? You have like
Oh,
stars on them?
Ooh,
stars and
kitties.
kitties and
oh,
yeah,
those are so cute.
Whoa.
kitty cat.
Badass,
So
dude.
shiny.
Yeah. They're
Oh,
very
yeah.
shiny. They're like
Wow.
cat's eye, and then they're like magnet, and then
Ooh.
designs over top.
I love that. Wow. I love every time I'm like, let's get down to business. I change the subject and we talk about something.
Let's get down to business.
Okay, we're not letting Disney come
Nope.
after us. Nope. Okay. So this is episode 19 and 20 of Supernatural season 2. And the first one we're going to deal with today is Folsom Prison Blues, which is obviously an iconic episode. So I'm so excited. So let me summarize this one really fast. I just realized that like I watched it last night, but because I have amnesia, I was like shocked over and over again, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But essentially what happens is there's a haunt in a prison and it's killing people. And so Dean's idea is to have them get arrested on purpose because they have a connection inside who's like, please come work this case for me. His name is Deacon, and he was friends with John. So you automatically red flag. If you're on good terms with John Winchester, probably like what or what? And then of course he's a prison guard, so again, red flag. Like what? And doesn't he like beat prisoners? Hello, this man is bad. He's a bad person. Anyways, so Dean is like, let's get arrested. It's not like we're already like on the FBI's radar or anything. And they go into this prison and wear little orange jumpsuits, which Sam looks adorable in, like chef's kiss. And they essentially have to like work this haunt within this like short time frame before Deacon is able to help them like escape essentially. And then they go out on the lam. So it's kind of straightforward from there. Cliff is in it, which I lost my ever-loving
Oh,
mind.
yes.
I was like, "Oh my God, that is Cliff. That's their like."
Is it bad that I never put that together?
I immediately saw him and was like, that is their bodyguard. That is Jensen and Jared's bodyguard. And I've
I
met
had
him a
no
few
idea.
times. Yeah, well, because I've been
Sweet in
a
person.
yeah, at cons, he's just there, like kind of chilling. And so when I saw him, I was like, did they hire him as an actor because he's their bodyguard? Or did they say this guy's big and strong? And then after he was on this episode, they hired him as their bodyguard. And then I wrote in my notes specifically, Vic would know the answer. So we'll have
I
to ask her.
I feel like I have to reevaluate everything that I wrote about
Yeah, he plays
I didn't
Tiny.
put that together.
He plays Tiny,
Now that
the
you
the,
pointed
the
it
big old
out.
guy. Yeah, so he's in there and they I think Dean has to like fight him to get put in solitaire so that they can like lure the ghost, but then the ghost actually kills Tiny and they realize that the guy that they thought was haunting the place wasn't. So they had to figure out what it actually was. It ends up being like really stressful because Sam burned like a mattress with blood on it, thinking he was getting rid of the ghost, but it ended up then having to race against the clock because they told Deacon we're leaving tonight. So they had like a few hours. And in that time, Dean thinks to ask their beautiful lawyer
Yeah.
blonde hair to go like research like this death of a nurse on the premises and it turns out to be her and so they're able to do it and as they're burning the body the like I guess ghost woman like nurse is trying to kill Deacon and then like at the last minute it saves him which I'm like kind of like Deacon probably is a bad person like she's probably right but then I think it just ends kind of like they're like okay we're done bye and I totally skipped over that Henriksen is in this one but we're gonna talk at length about him because we all fucking love Henriksen but he
Yes.
was there too so that was a very messy summary but that's it. I got kind of sidetracked because I wanted to talk about Cliff, but we can talk about Cliff as we get into the episode and discuss Tiny. All right. Thoughts. What do we want to do? What do we want to start with?
Can can I start by saying how is it weird that Sam looks really hot in his mugshot? Like,
That's what I said. I was like, why
He
is he
does.
hot as a prisoner? Like,
They both look really pretty.
mhm.
yes.
And I mean, there's a reason that these two pictures are by side on like t-shirts and stuff.
I have the
Like,
poster of their mugshots hanging in my classroom, actually. Like, my kids will go, Hey, Dean. And I'll go, Which one? And it's always different. Like, one of them will go from Gilmore Girls, or one of them will go from Supernatural. Like, it
oh, that's
never
so
fails.
funny.
It's like
That is
50
so funny.
50. Yeah, every time.
I love that.
It's never, Hey, Sam, but it's always, Hey, it's Dean. And they either know Dean or they know Dean Forrester.
Right.
It's very, very interesting.
That's funny.
Hmm.
So I am older than you guys.
No.
Yeah. But I
Sorry, I'm
have
nodding.
I I have to point out that there was a period of time when every action show on television
Mhm.
had to have some kind of prison episode. Like there was always a time where if it was like an investigative kind of show, they would have to go undercover. And if it was like just an adventure show, they would get put in prison and have to get out or whatever. Like there's I feel like I don't see that these days.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like that was a big one. And then they had like a full-on prison show, like Prison Break, I
Yeah.
think came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
maybe that's
they had a series of different prison shows, like Orange is the New Black came out, and then like a ton of different shows like that. So maybe it was just it had to work. It was something we had to work our way through. I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, and the idea of treating people in prison as characters and people who could be the main characters of TV shows
Right.
is, I think, something we had to work through to
Yeah.
get to.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, I also think from like a writer standpoint,
Uh-huh.
once you get a show that focuses on only stuff in prison,
Mm-hmm.
then the average viewer is like, okay, well, I have an idea of how things work in prison now. So that the people creating those shows kind of create a sort of canon for how
Mm.
prison works in the viewer's minds. And so then you can't craft your own storyline around because every profession gets their processes and stuff tweaked by writers who
Hmm.
need the facts to be a certain way for their plot to work or whatever.
Yeah.
But once you get a sort of inside view, and now I am not saying that the prison shows that we have had since then
Mm-hmm.
have been accurate. I'm
Right.
just saying in the viewers' minds, now they have an idea of how that should work, and it would be very hard to go against that to make your own plot
Right.
work.
They've created a media canon of sorts, which is
Yes.
kind of hard to touch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
speaking like to current times, I don't know about where any of you guys are, but at least in New York State, we're in the middle of huge like prison reform. Our officers have been on strike for like the last 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
Oh,
I don't know if the changing political climate, it's kind of a messy thing to touch
Mm-hmm.
if you're not going all in on it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why like shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a cop show, like, and it had to face the Black Lives Matter of it all and
Hmm.
had to face
Yes.
like all of those moments where okay, there's a reckoning right now with how in this country we're dealing with these issues and you can't ignore them anymore. You either do ignore them and prove you're very tone deaf, or you have to like directly address them. And I think they're maybe the only show I've ever seen really kind of do a really gracious job of trying to address it while acknowledging that they're part of the problem. And
Right.
Right.
I think it's hard, and I think in the past it's been hard to kind of walk that line. I mean, in this episode specifically, because of where we were at the time in how we viewed prison, there are so many jokes in this show, in this
Hmm.
episode,
Yes.
specific to you know, not I don't think anyone says I'm gonna make you my bitch, but like one of them like points out Dean and is like, "You're mine," like very much like, and it's kind of played for a laugh. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, obviously it's very
Yeah,
scary,
I
it's
mean,
pretty
but it's
uncomfortable.
for levity.
yeah.
Like it's for and like Dean's like, like he makes a funny face, and you're like,
Uh,
Dean
Dean makes a
says,
joke that he's going to sell, I
he
won't
says,
sell you
I
for
promise I
cigarettes.
won't sell you for cigarettes.
"Yep, I wrote that down." And then there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
Yep.
I mean, and I think we've talked about because we've talked about like trigger warning again, we continue to draw back to like discussion of rape culture on this podcast, and I'm sorry, but the show really does kind of discuss it in spite of itself a lot of times. And
Mhm.
we have talked about prison jokes in the past because there have been times where they do have brushes with possibly being incarcerated many times, and now they finally are actually on the inside. And on top, but even past just that, like it is very normalized in this episode for I'm not gonna say police brutality because it's like prison guard, but it's like prison violence, and that
Hmm.
violence is
Yes.
encouraged, and that violence is actually cool, and like so it's very interesting, like considering like where we are now to watch
Hmm.
this 20-year-old,
Oh God.
maybe
Yeah.
Right.
19-year-old
And
episode.
like you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
Deacon, there's a point where Dean is like, "You're beating the holy hell out of me, Deacon." And he says, "I thought I was going easy on you."
Yeah.
So like, how does he beat actual prisoners? And yet he is the friend of dad that we have to be loyal to. He saved dad's life
Blech.
in the army or whatever.
Yeah.
We owe him. And he's like a good guy that
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
like Yikes.
He's considered one of the good ones who we have
Hmm.
to remain loyal to. We have to we owe and we need to remember all these things. And I honestly like the whole time. I mean, like I made a joke at the beginning, like, oh, he's on good terms with John. He's automatically probably like big red flag. Probably
Yeah.
he's an asshole. But then I didn't remember that Deacon because they don't reveal that Deacon's a prison guard until like three-fourths of the way in because
Yeah.
and he's been beating on them. He's been beating on other prisoners too. So you know it wasn't just Sam and Dean and he was like, I have to do this as an act. He does it on a regular basis normally too.
Right. If he didn't
Yeah.
do it on a
Mhm.
regular basis, he wouldn't need to
Mhm.
be hard on Sam and Dean.
To
He's
make
really
it
only
look
hard on
real.
Dean to make it look real because
Mhm.
then it would look weird. Because, oh,
Yeah.
why are you beating on those two guys in particular? You're always the
You usually treat us like human beings. But
yeah,
like,
right?
yeah.
Deacon, this is odd. Are you feeling all right?
Are
Like,
you
no,
okay?
that no, that's
Mhm.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first notes I took was basically I love the idea of them having to go into a place and like blend in to do a haunt. And I always said that we need more haunts that take place in spaces where the boys like have to wear a costume and like learn the culture to fit in. I really liked when they had to do this on like the set of the movie when Hollywood Babylon.
Hmm.
And I was like, I just need a haunt to take place at like a Broadway theater where they have to like work as
Oh,
ushers and are like stage hands for a few weeks. And then Sam's theater bug kind of gets reignited and he's like engaged with that. And then like, that's my dream. I wrote a fic series called Winchesters on Broadway where it's just a bunch of ficlets of them going to see my favorite shows and like analyzing the themes of the show and how it affects the boys differently. And I was just watching like, oh, I need that. And I know that their 100th episode or is it their 200th episode that is
yeah,
the
one of them
sequel?
is the High School Musical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Is
so
it 200?
I think
I
it
think
might
it's
be
200.
200 because their 100 would be in like season
Season
5.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have to, oh yeah, because it was when we were watching season 10. It's in season 10. So it would be 200. That's
Oh my God.
insane. That's
That's a lot.
crazy.
That's a lot of
But
episodes.
yeah, I just think it would be kind of fun if we pick, I don't know, maybe we'll write the fic or something, like a series of fics where we just pick the weird, like they have to go on a haunt at like a seal rescue. And so they have to go learn how to feed the seals like fish
Can they
and
go
like
on a haunt at a zoo and
and
just have to learn
cleanse
how to feed
them.
Yes.
Yes, like they're zookeepers now, and they have to like learn how to like deal with the elephants and like I just think that would be kind of an adorable side quest.
Oh, can there be a haunt at a library? They have to be the new librarians.
Okay, and then we get hot Professor Sam with like tweed elbow patches, and he has to wear. I love the idea of him in glasses.
I know.
I used to
Yes.
have
Oh,
like
that
a
would be so good.
whole tag on my Tumblr where like people would make me like they would like make me manipulatives of the Jess has like a
Manipulatives.
ton like where she put the glasses on
Yeah.
of Sam photos and I
Oh,
would
I
just be
love
like,
that.
yes. Okay, I'm gonna put that in.
Yes.
I have to put that in the visuals for sure.
Now they did do that for a later episode where they had to go fit in at that um spa
Oh, there is
where
one where
he
they
where
need
he was
glasses
yoga
to see something too, I
he
think.
was he was yoga instructor, Sam.
We love Yoga Sam.
I love
Yes.
yoga
We
teacher
love
Sam.
we love Yoga Sam. Um, but anyways, yeah, prison's bad.
Yeah, prison's bad. So so my first comment about that, like the actual um prison part, is
Hmm.
that Sam is so big getting off the bus
Yeah.
and he's like they're like chained up and I'm like sure those chains would hold. Yeah, right. And then Dean is like I promise not to trade you for smokes and I wrote as if Sam couldn't kick the teeth in of any person there who
And
like tried
yet
to make a move.
they
And
literally,
then
yeah.
and then he sees his roommate and his roommate is like a full like what 8 inches taller than he is or something wild. Like he is somehow they got a bigger man than Jared to
Two.
be his cellmate.
Because
And
Cliff was there too.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But like right after I wrote that, I wrote, oops. His
Yeah,
cellmate is actually bigger than him.
I said, how ddid they give Sam the only roommate who was taller than him in the entire prison? Like he walks
It's
in and
like,
his eyes are like,
yeah, he's like, oh, and then later he says he just keeps staring at me in a way that makes me very uneasy.
uncomfortable. Yeah. But can
Like,
we also
whoops.
kind of like let's run it back for a second because the
Yeah,
way they
sorry.
get no, you're great. I we already got kind of went all over the place, so I am it's fine. But I did want to make a note of the way they got arrested is they're breaking into a
Yeah.
museum, and I don't know why, but Sam like breaking into museum display cases wearing these gloves is like hot, and I don't know why. But his hair is perfect, can't be said enough. And then like the gloves, for some
Yes.
reason, it just looked good. And it's like every single tableau of him be like breaking the law is like pleasing to my eyes. I don't know,
It's
like
because it's naughty.
I guess I just love
It's
those gloves. I was like, yeah,
it's
man, cover
he's
those fingerprints. I said fingernails.
yes. Cover those too. I did I did think like isn't there so much effort that would go into breaking into a museum? Like
Yeah, I'm like
even
just
if you
spray
know you're
paint
gonna
something.
yeah, just or try to rob a convenience store or something.
I think
Like
what it must have been is if you get put in county if it's a misdemeanor, but if it's a felony, like maybe they were really trying to go for it. So they were like, we have to steal something extremely valuable, maybe. But I feel like because they're who they are, they'd automatically go to the prison
Right.
because the FBI is after them.
Though I guess
right.
they didn't know,
They didn't
like
know that
they
Henriksen was
didn't
going to be on
account
his
for him.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did
that's
not account for
true.
him. And that is the thing that actually puts the timeline, the time limit, because
Hmm.
that there are other states trying to extradite them, and it'll take about 5 days for all of that paperwork to go through,
Yeah.
according to the lawyer. So now they have 5 days max.
And that was
Um,
cute to me that Sam was like, "Well, how long can we stall extradition?" And like to the lawyer, it's like, I guess he wants to stay here for some reason, but to us, we're like, haha, we know it's because he wants to work this case and he needs to figure out how long his time limit is.
yeah,
I also thought it was really funny because Henriksen, I don't know, I just don't remember any details of these episodes because there's just so much supernatural that after a while you just start running out of like RAM.
Yeah, it all kind of blurs together. Like I
Yeah.
remember Henriksen, but the
Hmm.
details are kind of
Yeah. So he gets there and he's like, you know what? You were really sloppy. Doesn't seem like you guys. And I went, oh, they got arrested on purpose. Like I literally forgot. And I was like, well, he's much smarter than me. Good job, Henriksen. Like,
but they do kind of drag out that reveal for a decent amount of time, like
yeah, it's
in the
weird.
episode.
yeah, I love when they do that too. It's always fun when like
Yeah.
they kind of work that exposition and naturally into conversation. And so like Sam being like, this is the dumbest thing we've ever done. And he's like, and we have a long storied past of doing very stupid things. Like
Yeah.
it's very good
I wrote
dialogue.
that down, and that's in a long storied career of dumb and crazy.
He's so
Love
Yes.
cute.
that.
I
He
know.
knows, I mean, he knows what's what. He knows how they are. But that I actually started getting annoyed because every time he was like, "Are you sure about this plan, Dean? Dean, I'm not so sure about this plan. This is the dumbest plan we've ever had." Dean's just like, "Don't worry, it'll be all right." I'm like, "You are getting arrested on purpose."
He's having so much fun. Like he
Right.
is,
This is an amusement park for
He
him.
it is
yeah.
a yeah, I wrote somewhere in here I wrote is this is just a game to Dean. Like,
He's just having he's getting a rush, really. I think like he's having so much fun like getting to see what's on the other side of this. And I don't know why. Maybe it's like I know that it has to do with movies that he's seen because he was like it was
Yeah.
kind of cute where he was like, "Oh, you're just like Clint Eastwood in Escape from Alcatraz or whatever." And then he was like, "Well, now you're being like this other guy from a different movie." And I was just like, he really is just like kind of living out like maybe a fantasy, like a cinephile kind of like
He's getting
yes.
fantasy.
to LARP. He's
Yes,
LARPing being a
he's a
prisoner.
LARPing being a prisoner because at the he there's at least two instances where he is like living out what he must think of as like quintessential prison experiences.
Mm.
One where he wins a bunch of cigarettes
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
uses them as currency.
Which
And
Sam confirms that Dean actually does not smoke. That was a
yes.
conversation we had earlier this season. Like,
Oh
well,
yeah, that's true.
neither of them do. It's Dean. Well, I guess neither of them do.
Neither of them do.
Hmm.
And the other one was oh, when he talks big to that one dude and he turns around with a grin to Sam and he's like, that's how you have to talk to him. It makes him respect you. And then the guy, of course, like stands up with his buddies and is comes
Well,
back
his
over like,
buddy is Cliff. He's like, he goes
yeah,
over and he talks to Tiny, quote unquote, and
yeah.
like he turns around and, and Jensen is dwarfed by. I forget how large Cliff is. Like he's
Yeah.
genuinely a giant. I have a story to tell about Cliff, and it's not good.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah. It's not a huge story. It's like a moment, but it really hurt my feelings. So I've been to a few convention. I think it must have been the last convention I ever did that was supernatural. So that was Houston in 2015. And I think it was Houston. I don't know, they all run together. But no, it was in Dallas in 2015. And me and my friend Rocky went and we were standing in line for a photo op because that was our favorite thing to do. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember who said anything or what the context was. But like Cliff is always there. Like he's always with the with
Yeah.
J2 because that's his job. And he's like family. Like he's been around them forever. Obviously. Like this is a season 2 episode and he's been around that whole time. And I just remember like they were directing us to do something or like they told us something was going to happen and we got excited. So the whole line was just like kind of cheering, like, "Ah," like, woo, like getting really kind of shrill and excited and like girly. And he mocked us.
Oh,
Yeah. He like mocked us squealing and like getting excited and clapping or whatever. And me and Rocky were like, um,
Not cool, dude.
what the fuck? We are the reason you have a job. Like, what are you doing? Like, it really upset us. Like, it really hurt our feelings because it was deeply misogynistic. Like, and
yeah.
I don't think he meant it in malice. But that's the thing is that it was always acceptable to make fun of fangirls. And I'm like,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
bread and butter
Yep.
comes from the money we are willing to spend on your two men. Like, fuck you for that. Like, it was so disrespectful. I was like, sir, who the fuck are you without us? No one. You're absolutely no one. Because at least if we disappear, Jensen and Jared have talent and they will have a job. But if they don't have fans who love them like this, you're obsolete, brother. Like it made me so mad.
Well,
And
That's so disappointing.
it's
yeah,
so
it was
easy for
hurtful.
men to mock um female excitement
Yeah.
because it's just an inherent thing that happens.
Hmm.
It's easy for that to be just offhand mockable,
Hmm.
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
Right.
without having malice about it. They don't
It's
have to,
so
you know.
inherent in our culture now that
Yeah.
even men who we would consider to be very aware, very with it, will fall into those
Hmm.
same patterns just because
Yeah.
it's so much a part of our culture.
Yeah. Exactly. Elle hit it exactly by saying like that's exactly why I don't think it was malicious because it was just the way it always had been.
Right. But it's disappointing to realize that they
Yes.
fall into those
Yeah.
patterns.
And we
Yeah.
were standing there, grown adult women, so excited to like be near these people who we admire. And the people who were part of that made fun of us. And it was just like,
Right.
the tone, you have to be so tone deaf to that. And like he could have just done it and not thought, I hope he felt bad. But it's like the same thing where it's like if you dress up for a football game, you're a fan. But if you dress up for a Taylor Swift concert, you're a dipshit. And it's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will fist fight you. Like, what are we
And
talking about?
Yes.
I almost feel like that's more disappointing. Like we've talked about some of my weird experiences at supernatural conventions. I have an actor I won't name who was like super mean, confrontational to me. And like I kind of knowing that actor's reputation, it was kind of like I guess I
Wow.
wasn't expecting better.
Yeah.
But like that kind of nonchalant making fun of is
Mm-hmm.
like you expect better.
I was just
Whether
having
they
this
Mm-hmm.
conversation with a friend earlier today, in fact, about finding out this kind of thing about someone that you admire, whether you admire their craft or you thought you admired them as a person, and it
Mm-hmm.
comes out that they are
Mhm.
something that you can't get down with,
Yeah.
some belief system that you just can't buy into. And for me, I know there are people who can just separate the art from the person. In my
No.
head, it cannot be separated. So I genuinely have a hard time being like watching that person on screen because I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
well, they're anti this, whatever thing I'm
Mm-hmm.
pro or whatever. And
Yeah.
I can't enjoy their work anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
It's tough.
separating the art from the artist is a different conversation
Mm-hmm.
when the artist is no longer making that art or no longer
Right.
profiting from it.
Yeah.
Um, as opposed to someone who is active and still doing harm.
Yeah,
Yes.
agree.
Yeah.
Agree. And I think that's what it was so I think that was what was so jarring to me is it was like the show is still going. Like it was still because when used to go, it was like 10 years ago. So it was like, my God, has the show been over for 5 years?
Oh God,
It's been
something like
over for
that. Yeah.
5 years, you guys. I'm gonna lose my mind. But yeah, it was about 10 years ago. So it was around season nine. Season nine was when what it was. And I was just like, damn, like y'all are in y'all's heyday. Like this is the peak of supernatural conventions right now. Like this, like
Right.
people that are fringe are coming, like on that fringe are
And
coming to
you
these.
already know that it's a
Hmm.
significantly female presenting
Hmm.
fan base.
And yet
Like
they
this
still
shouldn't
have
be.
this like view of like, it's I don't know. It was just such a tone deaf moment. You'll never catch Jensen or Jared ever acting like that. They're so grateful to all of their fans. Like they understand it, like, and I think they genuinely like connect with that. I do think like
Mhm.
like, and so it surprised me, like, not that Jared and Jensen are perfect, but like they understand where their bread and butter comes from. And I
They
just
Yeah.
thought that was
they probably have a bit more media training.
I really feel like Jared and Jensen would have been disappointed if they knew their
Mhm. Yeah.
fans got their feelings hurt because of their bodyguard, like their protector. Like it really hurt my feelings. Like it made me mad. You don't know who I am.
I know.
I will
Yeah.
show anger first before I show that I am hurt. And I wanted to be like, "Excuse me, tiny." Anyways,
Excuse me, Tiny.
tiny. So, let's talk about Dean and the empathy he shows for these prisoners because at one point they have a
Yeah.
conversation where
Hmm.
Dean's like, "Okay, but innocent people are being killed." And Sam goes, "Innocent." And I was like, "Damn." And Dean's like, "What are you from Texas now?" And I was like, "Okay, damn." Like, I get it. Like, we're a terrible place. But it was really interesting that he was like, "So you're into the death penalty now?" And I was like, "And you're not? Like, you're Mr. Death Penalty." But I thought it
I
was
Yeah.
so interesting that, like, he was showing empathy that
mhm.
he never, ever actually shows.
I wonder how much of that goes back to that like LARPing as a prisoner or that
Hmm.
like hero worship of those types of actors and shows.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it like there Sam does kind of say at one point, he's like, does it bother you how easy you fit in here. And it does seem like Dean kind of sees himself in these men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which I think is an interesting thing because if we discuss that in terms of the next episode we're going to discuss
Yeah.
and the kind of person Dean seems to be in that alternate reality in that I mean he might have actually been that kind of person, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
I
But
was
like,
I was
Well,
gonna
I
say
was
these are very interesting episodes
hmm
for I
hmm
think what we as Sam girls want to see out of Dean.
hmm
yeah. Yeah, this kind of exploration and and depth to
hmm
Dean that we kind of stopped getting.
Right. This is kind of like our idealized version of Dean,
hmm
I
Um
think. And
he's kind of doing some like he's considering things. I think that's
yeah.
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I also think it's interesting that like the first person who's close to John after John's death. I mean, no one's really reached out to him about John except maybe like Bobby and Sam, and he like kind of pushed them away because he was grieving. But the first guy, Deacon, who calls him after John's death, it's like, okay, Dad sent us an order and we're gonna follow it. We're loyal. We pay our debts. And it's like, okay, so even by proxy, like Dad's dead and you still jump when he says jump. It just was
Yeah.
an interesting thing where it's like, is this regression or is this just like it's still part of the grieving process for him where it's like, oh, it feels like Dad's alive again. He sent us on a trip. I don't know. I don't know. It just was an interesting thing to
Yeah.
me.
I
I
also wrote down that line as a point of interest, but I was like, you literally just met this guy. Like,
hmm
just
yeah.
loyalty.
Because
I know
it's
it
Dad and it's the
feels like it to
military.
Dean, but loyalty is not like a transitive property. Like,
He said it's because he's in the military. So he's like, oh, well, if you're in the military, you're in the Corps with Dad, well, then we love you. And it's like, that's
well,
how they
and
all
didn't
act, I
he
guess.
say he saved Dad's life?
Well, so did they. I don't
I
know.
know, like a ton of
I
times,
Who
but like,
hasn't?
I'd be curious to know how much of this is just latching onto like I know how to handle this. Like I
hmm
know how to follow directions from someone like this with everything going on in the larger story, like with
Yeah.
Sam and all that. This is kind of that thing to hold on to.
Yeah.
a
No, I
little
think
bit
you're
of
right.
weird, but a little bit of order in what feels to Dean like
Yes.
chaos.
I was gonna
Weird that
say
it's
that,
prison,
like
but
maybe prison and being locked in and being everybody else is in charge and they're giving orders and you just follow them. Maybe that is kind of like soothing to Dean. Everything has been so insane, like you said. Like prison is very much like structured. It's militaristic, like
Yep.
John. And
That regimented setting. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
and I hate to say that, but like I could see like why that would give Dean a little bit of relief to some degree.
And I don't know if the show was like actually actively trying to depict that, but it would be a really interesting way to delve into that part of his character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't feel necessarily it was intentional on the writer's part to do that, but
Yeah.
it would be nice.
Yeah, well, and I do feel sometimes that like they bump up against things that psychologically make a lot of sense on accident because they're writing
Yes.
possibly from experience or from knowing someone like that, and those things are still like you said transitively, like they're kind of true, and they end up making psychological sense if we dive into it and analyze certain things because maybe it was true for that person that they were inspired to write that about. And so I don't know. I feel like a lot of times there are conversations that ring true and we really just analyze the crap out of them and then we go, I don't think the writers were thinking that way though. But like it does in a way it's like a subconscious thing where if you write
Mhm.
truth into characters, then things like that are going to come with it. And I think that's
Um,
why season 2 is so good.
yeah, I mean, I can say as a writer who writes, cut that part. Um,
The writer who
who
writes.
writes? Uh, as a person who writes fiction, sometimes you're writing something, you give it to someone else to read, and they're like, wow, I really love how you wove this theme in, this blah blah blah. And you're like nodding
Yes.
along, like, ooh, totally meant to do that.
I did
But
that on purpose.
the thing is that your creative brain is always working and it's making connections.
Hmm.
Sort of it's running in the background. And when you
Hmm.
go to write things down, it connects up
Hmm.
without you having to try and do that because your brain is always looking for patterns anyway. And so it's feeding these patterns into the scene that you imagine that you want to write. You're going to see it a certain way because your brain has been working on that and in the background. And
Hmm.
so in that sense, I wouldn't say it's like intentional, but it's not an accident.
Yeah, it's because if you're writing truth to like humanity, there are always going to be things that we as humans experience that we can share and kind of like I don't
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
trans
Um,
transmit into what we're writing.
there's a great project that was done years ago. I'm sure the letters are still online. Students had to write to their favorite authors about, was this symbolism or this theme intentional in your work? And most of the time the authors would write back, no, but that's cool.
Yeah. That's what Tolkien said about Lord of the Rings. Like people were like, "Oh, so obviously this was inspired by your experiences in World War One." And he was like, "Shut the fuck up. I hate allegory. Metaphors are dumb." And everyone's like, "Okay, dude, but like clearly this is
Yeah.
like about that." And I think that's why humans are cool. Like brains are cool, humans are cool, and I love stories so much because there's just so much within them that we see that the authors meant and then that they didn't necessarily mean that can still be true.
Yeah, that they, again, as Elle said, are kind of running in the background versus
Mhm.
our human need to make connections where we
Hmm.
can.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's why the later seasons get upsetting and disappointing to us because they're not as rich. Like they're much
Yeah,
more like heavy-handed and
more
they
surface level.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're shallow
Yeah.
and they're more heavy-handed and so then it's like I'm a mirror to this other story and this is also a metaphor and we're like, "Gee." And like but
We'll hit you over the head with it if you haven't gotten
Mhm.
it yet. Yeah.
Right. But in these earlier seasons, especially this one, season two is chef's kiss. There's just so much like perfectly like balanced in so many of these episodes. One thing I
Mhm.
wanted to point out was that they referenced Linda Blair in this episode, that like episode because Henriksen had to go through like all of the people that he talked to who had
Oh,
interacted with
that's right.
Samantine. And
Yes.
it's such a cool like side story that there's an FBI agent with the team constantly chasing them down. Like because of course, like from the
And
outside, they would look
talking to the people
weird.
in that we have met in previous
Yes.
episodes. Like,
And law enforcement would be like, these guys are weird. What the fuck? Everywhere they go, people are dying. But like, it makes sense to us because we understand what's going on. So it's just like so genuinely authentic. And that Linda Blair episode was one of my favorites. And I loved that. And I love that they don't forget those details. Like, again, in later episodes, we will
Mhm.
just do one episode and forget it the next. And this
mhm.
is so cool to call back to. Well, I talked to Linda Blair and then I talked to this other woman who had a house and then I talked to, and like all these important moments from season two come back in just like a side conversation and you're like again the Leo gif where he's just like pointing at the screen
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I know that. I know that."
And then there's the conversation between Henriksen and their lawyer, and how they're
Hmm.
both talking through the different sides of, well, here's this horrible thing that they did.
Hmm.
Okay, but consider that they were actually doing it to save this other person.
Hmm.
That
Like
scene
that good.
actually really upset me. Um, because she comes to Henriksen and she's like,
Mhm.
I've been thinking about this case. Something doesn't add up. Everywhere we go to talk to people, they
Hmm.
swear that Sam and Dean saved their lives.
Yeah.
And Henriksen is like, okay, everywhere they go, people die. And
Right.
I'm like, and then he is like so dismissive of her, and then he
Hmm.
says, grown-ups are trying to get some work done here. And I was just like,
Such a dick to
excuse
her.
the fuck out of you, dude. Like,
I I
She
wrote
came to
in my
you because
notes.
something wasn't right. And like
Yeah.
don't the defense folks generally like stay clear of the police folks? Like they don't work together, right?
Yeah, but
Because
that's
one
why
is
he's
trying to
being mean to her because he's
I
like,
know,
you defend criminals.
but she comes to him with like this thing.
Hmm.
I just oh I was mad.
I I
Sort of trying to get
legitimately
work
wrote in
done.
my notes at that point, oh, never mind, Henriksen sucks.
Oh, oh, Henriksen.
Listen,
We can't have there's no perfect man. I think we realized that.
He's a
except
complicated
Sam.
man.
Except for Sam.
Except for Sam.
Yes.
Do you guys, if I were to describe this like moment to you, I'm gonna describe it to you. I want you to tell me if you can, if you know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's this beautiful, I said, God, Sam's gentle little profile in the softly lit bathroom. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
Oh my no.
Christy not, she's
I
nodding. She can't.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
because
can't
I
picture
think I
it.
wrote it down.
okay, so he has to interview the guy from the first scene, from the opening scene, who watches.
Randall.
Yes,
Randall.
Randall.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they're
that scene.
mopping the bathroom. And there's a scene where like they pull forward and like Randall's in the background mopping and Sam's little beautiful tendrils are falling. And it's his profile, his little nose. And the lighting is so beautiful and his profile is so soft and gentle and like this lighting is very soft. It's just like super beautiful, but he's mopping the bathroom.
A
And
A
prison
that
bathroom.
prison
same
bathroom.
that same scene, we have this shot of him trying to talk to Randall and giving him kind of like this smirky puppy dog look.
The eyebrow raise thing.
Oh,
I wrote that down too.
like I think I actually like groaned at that scene. It
It's
was
so
so
cute.
good.
Yeah, it's so cute. And I actually that moment where he raises his eyebrows, he's trying to get him to
Yeah.
like, eh?
Yeah.
He's trying to get him to talk. That was a GIF. That was a banner on my Tumblr for like a year because I love that
So
moment
good.
so much.
That is so good.
No. Oh, it was The Great Escape. So he's like, you're like Clint Eastwood from The Great Escape. Oh no, you're like Clint Eastwood from Escape from Alcatraz. And then
Hmm.
he calls him,
Well,
um,
and Sam says something and then he says, "Well, then I'll just have to be something from something else."
I think
And
he called him like a downer from a different movie. He was like, well, now you sound like, but I don't remember what it is. Dang.
well, it's a good thing I'm blah 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 from blah blah blah. Yeah, he was doing that
Yeah,
all over this
he
episode.
was so happy about
Yeah.
it. So whenever Dean gets his ass whooped by Tiny slash Cliff, Sam slips away in his little slippers, his little prison slippers, and he and his cutie little jumpsuit, and he gets a little. I said I love when Baby gets a side quest all to himself, and he goes down like I don't think it's an elevator shaft, but he like goes up and then he
It's
has to
like a ventilation
yeah,
something
Yeah.
something.
he has to lower himself down. And I remember just specifically making a GIF set of this moment because him hanging down and dangling and then dropping down, I think it was something about the way the jumpsuit like hugged his butt. And I remember being like, that's a very specific moment,
He has
but
a very aesthetic butt. What
I
can you say?
respect you. Jared, I'm so sorry. If the dream of you listening to this has come true and you hear this and turn it off, please forgive us and come back.
Come back. We
Uh,
don't spend the whole time talking about your
This is
aesthetic
honestly,
butt.
we are what, two full seasons in, and this is the first time we've ever talked about your butt.
That's
Is that
true.
true? I think it's true.
I think
We've
it might
We
be
limited
true.
the
steered
objectification, yeah.
steered clear of the butt. But for some reason, the jumpsuit, I remember that conversation because I was just like, oh, okay. Again, Leo with the pointing. Um,
Yeah. Well, can I back up just like one scene
yeah.
where Dean is trying to distract attention from Sam scurrying away to do his side quest?
Mm-hmm.
He's riling the dude up, Tiny,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, with like fat jokes, like big guy jokes.
Oh,
And
what
I
did
was
he
Yeah, like
like,
say?
you
this
eat
is
your feelings and
they're
yeah.
He
they're
did
not
something.
they're cupcakes, they're not love. Like I was just like,
And then
Whoa.
there's the
mm,
weird heart to heart that Dean and Tiny have while they're in their separate cells. that
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to read how they meant for that to go because Tiny is like, yeah, I do have self-esteem issues because my dad was a piece of shit.
And he
And it's
used to
just, it
beat my
hits a
ass.
very weird tone. Like, I don't even know how
Yeah.
to describe it.
I think it's
Well,
supposed to be funny because like a big old
Yeah.
prison, like burly guy is getting like vulnerable. I also have a theory about that scene. So like when y'all are done making that point, like remind me to go back to my theory.
well,
I,
I had that riling the guy up and starting a fight scene.
Hmm.
For a second, I had that confused in my head for the Avatar: The Last Airbender scene where they're in the Fire Nation prison and Zuko tries to start a fight with a guy and the dude, like a big dude, and the dude just is like turns around and you think it's gonna be a big fight and he goes, I've been working on my anger issues. You should try it,
Oh,
kind of
that's
thing. And it's
cute.
and like he like Zuko cannot get this fight started because the guy is just like trying to like better
It's
himself.
like
It's
in Mulan where the big guy is like super, super like meditation friendly and is like always
yeah.
like chill.
yeah,
That would have been a cute take, but
yeah. But
not
no,
very
it's
supernaturally. It's got to be toxic
no,
masculinity or nothing.
it's that or nothing. But
Yeah.
then when he does open up when they're in the
Hmm.
infirmary or whatever,
With the weird blanket between him and that like they're sharing a
yeah,
cell wall and there's a blanket like
like over it,
covering it.
it's weird.
That's what my
It was
theory that's
They're
what
weird.
in
my
like cages.
well, that's
They're
what
in
my
like
theory is
cages,
about.
yeah.
Well, they're in solitary, but that's what my theory is about. And here it is. I believe Cliff can't act, period. That's why he never speaks on camera. And so I believe the man behind the curtain isn't Cliff. It's like someone else acting. And they don't because Cliff can't. And so that's why they cover him up and he dies behind it. They never show him while they're talking. He
Oh,
doesn't talk.
That's
And
interesting.
that's what I was like, well, because I was laughing before when they were just showing him, and all he did was like kind of make facial expressions. And then, like, I think
yeah.
he lifted Jensen over his head and threw him at one point. I was like, did they hire him because of that scene? But like, I don't think he can act. So I really think that like they did that weird thing where it's like, okay, in every other prison scene I've ever seen where they share a wall, they just talk to each other through the cage. Why is there a weird sheet? And I think that's why.
I think I like wrote it off as it's theoretically an infirmary and there'd be a like a curtain between
Oh, that's
patients or
right, because they
whatever.
were both hurt. That's true. But I
Yeah.
really think it's because Cliff
But I think
Yeah.
that's very interesting because frankly it nothing bad about Cliff, but for one of your first acting outings to have a death scene, like I'd want a sheet.
yeah, put the
I'd want
sheet
a
up,
sheet
please.
there.
I don't want
Please
to be
put the
on
sheet up.
camera.
I don't
Let
want
me
to have to
die
die
in
on camera.
silhouette. Yeah.
Let me die
Yeah.
in peace. But yeah, I got the idea that he him talking about his dad being a piece of shit. They're zeroed in really close on Jensen.
Hmm.
And I this episode brings up dad a lot in that Deacon
Right.
is like giving orders in dad's stead, kind of.
Blech.
Um,
Yeah.
and so if we're bringing up dad, and then a guy brings up how his dad treated him and his brother like shit, and we're zeroed in on Dean's face while we're on a dad mission, like I can't not believe that we're supposed to understand that Dean is taking something from that.
I hope so.
I mean, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Um, I definitely can see yeah, where you're coming from. Because they do those kind of like little side quest like mirrors and metaphors.
Mhm.
Right.
Um,
But I don't know that they always have the follow through on it is kind of the
yeah.
No,
problem.
that's the
Like
problem.
they
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
so close to something really, you know, in depth and then they run away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and I think too, they just need to remind us about John because we're coming up on the last few episodes
Yeah.
and he plays a major role and they have to remind us it's sad that he's dead and like remember him and it's like please don't remind me. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought of this question that I have next. So, the like Dean, doesn't bother you how easily you fit in here? No, no, not really. I was wondering if maybe this is where some people get their panties in a twist about Sam like being like elitist. Like, what do we think?
Oh, that could be.
Hmm.
Oh.
I have seen that moment referenced in that kind of discourse before.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, that's definitely one of the examples I've seen where like Sam is like maybe trying to make himself out to be better than prisoners in a prison. And I just think
That is
they're
a prison. Everyone there is probably convicted of murder.
I, I mean convicted of something if they're not innocent, which
I say that, but like Sam and Dean are in there and they just like went to a
Right.
museum. So I don't know. Like,
went to a museum,
well, you know what I
actively
mean.
tried to get
They
caught
robbed a
stealing.
museum,
They
yeah.
robbed
I
a
think
museum. But
these two episodes are make for an interesting interpretation of Sam if you are a Dean fan first.
Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm with
Because
Sam, like I would want to get out of there. I'd be scared. But
Sam wants to
like,
get out of there. He thinks it's a bad idea. He doesn't like the food. Oh, I wrote you remember the scene where he doesn't like the chicken spaghetti or whatever, and Dean's
yeah.
like, I'll take it. He's like, have at it. So I wrote, how Sam, how do you live when Dean just eats the prison spaghetti right out of your sweet baby fingers?
I know I was like, he's making up for the SpaghettiOs from his childhood.
Right. He's still holding on to those that SpaghettiOs
Mm.
incident. Um
We can't go like 4 episodes without like getting bitter about
I
the
know.
SpaghettiOs.
We can't. I feel like it's always me.
Oh, you're not alone. Don't worry. We
Okay,
all.
good, good.
I think the
But yeah,
SpaghettiOs haunt like our narrative here.
yes. Well, it particularly because of the way they were sort of presented and then memeified
Hmm.
as
And now
being
they're eating spaghetti in
yes,
this episode, so they're relevant
slurped.
again. Slurp.
Yes, slurped out of yeah.
I did like the moment that like Dean was like, "Well, we owe him," and like Sam was like, "Okay, but we don't owe
We
him
don't
our
owe him our
lives."
lives.
And
Hmm.
I was
I
like,
love that line.
"Boundary making king." Yes, we love it.
But then Dean is like, "What do you mean we don't owe him our lives? Who are you?" Like, Dean, he's right.
Like Deacon
It's
is a stranger, and
He
he's
is a
in
complete
this
stranger who
in this
beats people, the people that you called innocent victims who don't deserve to
or
die.
innocent people. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, in this narrative, Dean is kind of shown to be in the right. Like we have to help these people, we owe it to them, we owe it to Dad and Deacon. But Sam's whole thing is like, we're being thrown in prison. We have no supplies and we have no idea what the mystery is that we're solving.
And
And
if we
we're
Like,
don't get
already
out,
wanted for all these other things.
right,
and if we don't get out, we're going with the feds.
when
Like
you
we're in
pull
bigger
back,
trouble.
it's more than a reasonable position, but within the context of the episode, he's shown to be like again elitist and a little bit
Yeah.
It's
thinking,
self-centeredness, but it's like it's
yeah,
self-preservation. Like he has no reason
Yeah.
to do this. Like there are so many other haunts they could do and not get arrested. Like I don't know.
Not have to get arrested
That's
first.
just how I feel. I don't know.
why can't Deacon solve it?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
because it's like that guy who called them up for the planes, where it was like, hey, I know John from the cores, but I know that he like also hunts ghosts, I think, of a ghost situation. So it's like I don't think he's a hunter friend. He's like from the military, so I don't think he
Who just
can.
kept in touch with John, I guess, and knew about
Yeah.
John's.
It's like the guy from Phantom Traveler.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm always so sad that Henriksen isn't going to be around forever because I just think it's such an interesting and like dynamic, great character. Um, but alas, so I enjoy
Yeah.
him as long as we can have him.
Hmm.
Um, I would like to say, throughout all of my notes,
Hmm.
I am referring to Sam as a side dish because like he goes and does the thing where he has to burn the remains, two
Uh-huh.
seconds, and then we go back to Dean.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Dean gets both times we see the ghost kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Dean is standing right there next to it and
Mm-hmm.
witnesses the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's the one who talks to Deacon the most.
Mm-hmm.
He's the
And Tiny.
one, and Tiny. Like we get 2 seconds of Sam doing a thing, and then we're back with Dean while
Yeah.
and then it turns out those 2 seconds of Sam doing the thing weren't even meaningful because that's not the ghost that they're after.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
mean, they
I
do end up Sam is the one who ends up my next note literally is sweaty Sam in a V-neck shoveling at a grave. We are blessed. So like he does get to do the thing. It just takes a while, but I'm with
well,
you.
but
Like,
but yeah, I'm just saying like when they're split up, two
hmm
seconds with Sam doing something useless, and then more conversation and talking with the character. Like this
yeah.
is one of those episodes where Sam is just moving the plot points along,
Yes, he
and Dean
is.
is the one interacting with all
Hmm.
of the people
He
and
gets the
getting the
character stuff.
interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And I, I, I wasn't happy about that.
Yeah.
From a Sam perspective, I was
No,
not.
Right.
I
I
get
It
was
it.
made
like,
it
Yeah.
a very weird episode to rate.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's not a bad episode. Like it's a fun
Right.
episode, but
it's fun.
it's not one that I would watch when I like want to get a Sam fix for sure. Except that
Yeah.
I do love that orange jumpsuit.
I mean, I'll just watch that GIF
So
if I
true.
Yeah.
if I need that. I'll just watch that GIF.
Also, I find the nurse's motivation to be kind of flimsy. Like
Yeah,
what is her issue? Like she got trampled or something like in a riot on accident, so now she
they
goes
beat
after
no, they
After,
beat her to death because she was or like
yeah, because
taking
she was a
prisoners
shitty
out.
person. Yeah.
She was
Oh,
taking
she
prisoners
was a
up.
bad person. Oh,
She
I
was a
missed
bad
that.
person.
Oh,
No,
well then
she
it
there
doesn't
well there were
matter.
rumors. It was
Yeah.
rumors, but I
Okay.
think we're led to believe that it was true that prisoners would go up to like her floor and they'd never come back or they'd leave in a body bag, quote unquote. And
Yeah.
so then when there was a prison riot, she was caught on her own and the prisoners saw her and
Ooh.
they were like, "Oh, we're taking her
We're
that
taking her
we're
out.
taking her out." And so they beat her to death. Yeah.
Okay, so that makes way more sense. I don't know what I was doing when that was discussed, but like that makes way more sense. I want to say something else that maybe will make you feel a little bit better about Hendrickson kind of being a dick, because I think they did that so narratively later when she outsmarts him and sends them to the wrong cemetery and gives that little smirk when she gets into her car. She's like, "Take that. How's that
Yeah.
for the grown-ups or
Yeah.
whatever?" You know what I mean? So like, yeah, he was kind of a dick, but I do love that she kind of got him back in the end.
Yeah, I do love that. I really like her. And
She's
she's
fabulous.
she's one of the characters. Whenever there's a truly like interesting side character, I always end up wanting them to stick around for a little bit longer, become
Mhm.
a resource for the boys, something more long term. But in her case, it just makes I get that thought and then I get immediately sad
I know.
because a lawyer resource. Hmm. Seems like they could have had that if they had just left Sam the fuck alone for 4 years or whatever. Like,
I know. I'm
it
like, my
just makes me
baby could
sad.
have been a lawyer.
And he could have helped them as a lawyer.
He
Like,
could have been an
it's
asset, yeah. We
he,
had that conversation in season one because it's such a good idea and we're sad about it all the
we're
time.
very sad about it.
So, final thoughts on this episode.
Um, I
Anything we
have
left off?
I have a few. Firstly, the design of this ghost
Okay,
is terrifying.
period. That's exactly what I wrote. I was like, she is scary.
The what they did with the eye, like whatever, when we see her full body, she's just like a lady in a white dress or whatever. But her, whenever we're just seeing her eyes,
Yeah.
for some reason they're just so big and like weirdly black and gray. Oh, it was
Yeah.
every time I
Hmm.
saw her, I wrote a note. Oh,
She's very scary.
very, very terrified. Um, yeah. I have to call out the we talked a little bit about Sam being really uncertain about the plan and Dean just like really pretty sure. How sure are you, Dean? Really pretty sure. And then
Yeah.
they get like the info and they about the blood that they have to burn or whatever. And this time Sam has a plan. And Dean's like,
Mhm.
I'm not so sure about this plan, Sam. Like, how sure are you? And Sam's like, really pretty sure. Like with this little smirk, like, Dean, you kind of asked for it. Although I will say I don't really understand why Dean was so concerned about it. Dean loves a fight, which is his job in the plan. Sam's job is to sneak away from all the danger into a place where there's nothing, except maybe a ghost. But Sam knows how to, he has salt. He knows how to deal with a ghost. This is actually the least dangerous plan they've
I
had in a
know.
long time. So I don't know what Dean was so concerned about. But um, yeah, I thought that
It's
was
kind of
interesting.
silly, yeah. I don't know. He's just kind of
Um,
antsy, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Or I think he is uncertain when he's not the one in control of the plan. He didn't come up with the plan and he hasn't had the chance to like think through the plan. Um, but yeah. Oh, when Sam is talking about how well Dean fits in,
Hmm.
um, like related to that, Dean explains the ghost going after him when
Hmm.
he's with Tiny in the infirmary goes after him because he breaks the law.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, like Sam has been next to you every single day for the past 2 years and an entire childhood of law breaking before that.
Yeah,
Like I,
it doesn't make sense all
everybody,
the way through
yeah,
to
and
me.
everybody there has theoretically broken the law, so
Yeah.
it's not like he's special.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
just,
It's
yeah.
stupid. I just that they should have worked on her lore a little bit more because I thought it was pretty flimsy,
Yeah.
With the
all
whole,
things said and done.
yeah,
And
that whole thing was flimsy.
we kind of got a similar plot line back in season one with the
Hmm.
asylum, right?
Yes. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Yes.
the
Even with the
doctor that they
experiments and
beat.
everything, you're
Yeah.
totally right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they wanted to do a fake out, right? They wanted to do, we think it's this guy. We're gonna
Yeah.
somehow get there. We're gonna, and the difficult part of the case is that they have to get to a place when the whole point of this location is that you're restricted in your movements and stuff.
Hmm.
Right.
So we think that that's the difficulty and that's what the case is going to be. How do we do this?
Hmm.
But it turns out that the difficulty is that there's a whole other situation that they didn't know about going in, and now they have to deal with that.
Well, and
Um,
that's what's so funny is like if they didn't actually have to go to jail, they could
right,
have just gone to
right.
that cemetery.
They could have just done a little bit of research and been like, "Hey, I bet it's this nurse chick who got totally murdered.
And
Let's
if
go
it
find her.
wasn't, let's just go burn her just to be sure.
Let's
And
burn her bones anyway and
then we'll
call up
get
Deacon
arrested if we have to.
if we have to." Yeah. But
Yeah.
Like
but
one reasonable conversation with Deacon would have solved all of this.
yeah, right?
He was so
Like
sure it was that like serial killer, but alas.
because that guy had because the inmates keep having heart attacks and that guy died of a heart attack, but really
Hmm.
he was beaten to death. So if the records had been accurate,
Accurate. You're
they
totally
would have
right.
known that he
See
wasn't
the
a ghost.
corruption? And
That corruption
I'm supposed
goes
to
all the way to the
care.
top.
I'm supposed to care that Deacon might die, and I'm just like, he sucks, whatever. Like, just let
Right.
the old lady kill him. Anyways.
Well, I did really appreciate how the whole ending interplayed. Like
Hmm.
they get out
Yes.
and we think, cool, they're home free. They're just gonna go to the graveyard. Except now Henriksen knows they got out and he's gotten to
Yeah.
the lawyer lady, the defender, and he's gonna get that information out. So we know and we see them trucking through the cemetery, and then we see Sam and Dean going through the cemetery. And if that's not enough, now the ghost that they have to burn is killing another person. It's Deacon, but whatever. And they don't know that, but as a viewer, you're like, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, how is all of this gonna
Yeah, the
wrap
high
up? And
stakes.
yeah, the
Hmm.
it just ratchets the stakes up higher and higher, and it's a beautiful reveal when it turns out Henriksen and Co. went to the wrong graveyard the
Yeah,
whole
because
time.
we get
Like,
that satisfying little smirk from our
yeah,
lawyer girly.
I
yes,
have to
yes.
ask,
Hmm.
my memory is shot with these. Henriksen's dude, the guy that is with Henriksen.
Okay,
Do we
yes.
ever see him again, or is
Yeah,
he
I
just
feel
there
like
to?
later
He
he's like a demon or something because Henriksen does end up dying in season 3.
he
So
feels so familiar.
yeah, I feel like we
Oh,
do
is
see
he
him
Voldemort?
again. Yeah, we do
Yeah,
see him
I
again.
feel bad. I don't remember, but
I
he
mean, y'all
just
know
seems
I
so
have
decorative.
amnesia. No, I think
Decorative.
he plays. I do think he plays a more important role later. Otherwise, we wouldn't be like, wait a second.
He feels familiar somehow,
Yeah,
so I feel like he does have to come back.
yeah.
Um, so they get to the end of this, and then, well, they get to the end of the part in the prison, and they've called Deacon, and they got to get out. Okay,
Hmm.
so he says, "Your daddy raised you right."
Ugh, what an
You.
offensive thing
Ugh.
for you to say. I literally wrote like, that's offensive.
That's offensive.
I would have been pissed.
But then, and this is like a formula that we see when Sam disagrees with Dean by the end of the episode. In that scene, Sam acquiesces to Dean's earlier comments of loyalty and owing Deacon by saying, "We owed you to Deacon." Like he just can't, he's not able to
He
stand his
always,
ground.
yeah, he always capitulates, always.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's because, I don't know, like he's just like a kind person. I guess he also wants like Dean to kind of know, like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, where he
Yeah.
never really gets that in return. But like,
No, he doesn't.
I do feel like, um, yeah, Sam's just kind of like he wants to end the job on a good note if it's possible and be like,
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it. Now that everything's okay and I'm not worried, like, cool, So
Oh,
it's frustrating, but
I just thought of another thing about the lawyer situation and
yeah.
Sam. Anytime there's a lawyer, I get so sad about Sam. Um, Dean gets the whole we're not the bad guys talk with the public defender. Dean gets to meet with her
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
have the conversation. And I always want it to be Sam who meets with anyone who's a lawyer. And in that scene, it wouldn't even have made sense for him to say anything about how he was about to go to law school or whatever.
But
I
isn't
just
it something that she should have known, like as their defender?
Yeah, she should have done
yeah,
some background on him.
she should have. Yeah. But yeah, he gets to have the sensitive we're not who you think we are kind of talk. Look in my eyes. A
Elle
good
is
public
so
defender
bitter. I love it.
always a good public defender always knows if her client's
This is
guilty or
why we
not.
create a
Look in
bitter
my
Sam Girl
eyes.
Club.
Am I guilty? Look into my eyes.
Look
But
into
I will
my
say,
princess green eyes.
yes, I will say though, that car looks majestic with
Yeah,
raindrops on it.
it looks great.
It's a
Hmm.
beautiful car. God damn.
Are you guys ready to rate?
Did you have
Yeah,
any last thoughts, Christy?
I think you pretty much covered them. I did
I
write
took all
down,
of the last thoughts.
You took every
I did
last
write
one.
down, I love how they had to kind of piece together their supplies in the prison
Oh,
this
yeah,
time. And
yeah.
I wish we saw more of that.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
container of table salt and the cigarettes to burn it. Like it's so much fun. And I wish we saw
Mhm.
more of that kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Costumes and props.
Yep.
Yes, we need it.
Yes.
All right. Let's look at our wardrobe descriptors, which are horrendous, adorable, genuinely good, or terrible but great. So we'll start with Elle. What did you think?
Okay, so I like the prison jumpsuits.
Hmm.
I wrote that down. Before you said it, I also had it in my notes. Um, but I'm hesitant to say genuinely good because they don't get to choose their prison uniform. Like it's not
Yeah,
like
but
they
we're
dress
not
themselves.
judging
I know.
their
I'm
choices.
judging
We're judging how they
their
look.
taste. I'm judging their taste. I'm gonna give it a genuinely good just because of the but I mean the fit.
I
The
just
fit.
love that you're like, I don't know if I can, in good conscience, give it to them since they didn't choose.
They didn't pick it. They didn't choose that.
That's fair. Christy, what about you?
I also gave it a genuinely good.
Yeah, me
He
too.
just so pretty in it.
They look adorable in their little jumpsuits, their little
So cute. Little
jumpsuits. And then
slippers.
at the end, when Sam was in that V-neck getting sweaty in the grave, I was like, hell
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
hell
that
yeah.
is oh heck.
Oh, oh, hey, oh, heck.
Oh,
Oh,
oh
gosh,
heck.
oh, golly.
Oh goodness gracious.
Goodness gracious. All right, let's rank this on a scale from I say it's from 1 to 5. It's really technically from 0 to 5. We're gonna do screen time, enjoyment for Sam fans, and heart eyes. So again, we'll start with L and we're doing screen time. What did you give it?
I am going to give this like a 2.5.
Okay.
I gave it a 3.
Okay. That's fair. I
We're
gave
not
it
even talking about it. We're just
no, I mean, because we know why. Like I gave it a 3.6, which is pretty high, but it's again because I like moments with Dean where like I don't know. I feel like if there's good screen time with Dean where I feel like happy about the brothers, that it kind of to me it's the Sam taxes. Like those numbers go into that column,
yeah.
into
Yeah.
that space. All right. So enjoyment. Elle, how would you rank this as a Sam enjoyer?
As a Sam enjoyer,
Yeah.
I would say oh, gosh, it made me so mad though. Um
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you're gonna give it a very
I'm
high
gonna
score.
I think I'm gonna give it like a 3.2, and I think if this was my first time watching it, it would be a higher score.
Hmm.
Because I wouldn't ha already have that sense of, oh, here we go again.
That's fair.
Um, but he's so pretty. And
Yeah.
he has that one line I just really love. We don't owe him our lives.
Mm.
Like, yes,
So
with the boundaries.
we super enjoy that. Yeah. Christy, how about you?
I gave it a 3.75,
Fair.
mostly for that look when they're mopping.
The little eyebrow
Oh,
raise. I
the
know.
Yeah.
eyebrow.
Oh my God. Well, with that, I mean, I gave it a 3.6. It's just the same as my screen time. Like I enjoyed it as much as he was around. I enjoyed it when he wasn't around. It was fine, but like obviously it didn't impact me that much. It's just kind of like
Yeah.
it's just like a fun episode. All right, so our last thing, Hard Eyes. L, how are Hard Eyes for this episode?
Oh, the jumpsuit
And the hair, my God.
and the
Yeah.
hair
That soft light
and the
silhouette, that soft profile.
profile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it like a
A thief.
3.9.
Okay. Okay. Christy, what about you?
I gave it a 3.5.
Fair? I give it a 4 because he's hot. He's really hot in this episode. The gloves at the beginning, like that V-neck at the end, he's all sweaty. He's in that jumpsuit and his hair never falls out of place. Like he looks perfect. And we get that cute little pointy nose profile moment.
Pointy
The
nose.
rising eyebrows.
You know
Yeah.
what? I think I just thought of why the gloves might do it.
Why? Because they have to be
Because
super big.
there is I was not thinking that. Oh,
Now
but
you are.
now we know what Audrey's thinking about.
That's
Um
not what I meant. Stop.
I was gonna say because when you're wearing gloves to do something, it feels like a sign of competence
Yeah.
and also of knowledge that the things he's touching are like precious.
Yeah, like it's very much like I know what I'm doing. I need these gloves.
Yeah, like
Yep.
these maybe even this comes from a culture and maybe I shouldn't
Mm.
be messing it up with my finger oils and
Oh,
stuff. Like,
so he's so sensitive to wear those gloves.
right? It's the gloves.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh my God. All right. So my average for this episode was 3.73. Elle, yours was a 3.2, and Christy, yours was a 3.4. So overall, we gave this
Oh,
like a 3.46. That's not bad.
that's
Considering
not
how
bad.
little like Sam time there was, it's pretty good.
yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you guys ready
Yeah.
for the next one?
Who is?
Yeah.
Not me. I'm
Well,
ready.
too bad. What is and what should never be is happening.
Oh no!
Oh my God. Okay, so the summary for this is interesting. Um, we always are fearful when the boys are the ones in the cold open because it means something intense is about to unravel. And so the boys are doing separate things on the phone. And we find out that Dean is on his way to like check out a gen. And then Sam's like, well, come pick me up first. And Dean's like, no, I'm just gonna run over and do it and then I'll come back. And then he doesn't come back. And in fact, he wakes up the next day, quote unquote, and he's in bed next to this gorgeous brunette. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? And then he gets out of bed. He's like in a house and it's his house. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he calls Sam, and Sam is like, "What the fuck?" And what we realize is that Dean is actually woken up in what is essentially an alternate reality where they never hunted, Mary never died, and they lived normal lives. Um, Dean is struck by this. It's Jensen does gorgeous acting throughout the entire thing.
Hmm.
He enjoys living this normal life. He's just reveling in it. But what he discovers is that he and Sam are not close in this reality. And their father has actually passed away within the last year of a stroke, which is weird because what is he like in his like late 40s, early 50s? It's weird. Anyways, so then Dean starts seeing on the television, like very It's a Wonderful Life, like, oh, because we never hunted, we never saved all these people. And so again, it's two episodes back to back that reference other episodes that we watched, which is fun. So we see like the Phantom Traveler, we see the little girl in the house, we see all kinds of stuff. And he's like, damn, I thought we
Hmm.
saved all those people. So what he ends up doing is following this like apparition he keeps seeing. And what he realizes is the apparition is actually not a ghost. It is glimpses of reality, and what he is in is fake. And so he it's really one of the best scenes I think Jensen's ever done is where he goes to John's grave because he's trying to like figure out he's like me and Sam aren't friends, like what's going on, like I don't like he does this whole monologue is gorgeous and he has like tears and he's talking about like why do we always have to sacrifice everything, why can't we just be happy? And so at the end, he is trying to find where this girl is because he keeps seeing flashes. It's horrific of these dead bodies with their arms chained above their heads, hanging from like the inside of closets. And he's like, where the fuck is this? And what he discovers is the Jen is actually keeping him and this girl, this apparition that he keeps seeing, chained up so he can siphon off their blood. That's how they live. And they just like take their energy, take their blood until the person dies. So Dean is speaking to Sam, who has come with him, and Sam's like trying to convince him, don't like do anything weird, like we need to leave. And Dean's like, no, I'm gonna kill myself. And Sam's like, don't do it. And then all of a sudden, all of the important people show up, and you realize, okay, they are all the Gen. They're all just like in his head. And so Dean sadly has to like basically choose reality, which is worse than the alternative reality. He stabs himself in the dream, wakes up in reality to real Sam having found him, is about to rescue him. The Jin comes in. Like the cool part about this is Sam already has like a blade with lamb's blood, like dipped in lamb's blood, which is something in the dream Dean was trying to get ready to kill the Jin. So like the boys are in wind sinking, even though they're not even on the same plane. And then they're able to get rid of the Jin. And at the end, Dean tells Sam like about that life and that it was sounds like a dream, but it wasn't. The end of the story is essentially that despite getting like the apple pie life, it's not worth it to Dean if he doesn't get to be with Sam, but that it sucks. We have to sacrifice. And Sam kind of gives him this really sweet moment at the end where he's like, but it's worth it because you saved those people. Like, it's not fair. Which I love that line because it's very validating to his experience. Like, it is not fair, but like it's worth it because like look at what a hero you are. And it literally just ends. Like it's the most abrupt ending. I was
Hmm.
just like, damn. But anyways, it's such a good episode, but like very light on the Sam. So we
Yeah.
are gonna talk through some things about it. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say because it's Sam light, but it's such a great episode. I think a Jen being called a genie is wild considering how scary they are.
Genie.
Because when I think of a genie, I think of like the Robin Williams genie. Like he's so fun and cute, and,
Right.
like,
Well,
happy
and
and
Hmm.
nice.
they reference I Dream of Jeannie, the old
Yeah,
TV
Yeah.
the
show
harem pants.
where they're yeah. Um so okay, first of all, Baby in the Rain again. Beautiful. Um
Why did I picture an actual baby in the rain?
what? I don't know. What is it? Did it have
Sorry.
never mind.
A
Um
baby was like in my
a
head.
baby like I'm getting rained on.
They're
Um
they're always
I
getting
do
rained on.
I do like the design of the gin.
Yeah.
The design of the gin was really cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
I was afraid it was kind of appropriative. I don't because I don't know
That's what I wrote down.
I'm
yeah.
not sure. I'm not sure.
It was a white bald guy with like
Yes.
tribal tattoos all over his face.
Right.
So
And
I
the
was
fact that
wondering
they're
like,
very specifically calling it a gin
hmm,
Yeah.
is
Well, they
very specific to a mythology that is
yes.
not white.
Right.
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, aesthetically, I liked the
Hmm.
design of the gin.
Hmm.
Yes.
I mean, everyone knows they only had white people before like 2010. So,
Right. They only had white people and Hendrickson.
that's right. That's right. Um, so but I yeah, I don't know. I did know I don't know if this is intentional, but Dean wakes up
Mhm.
and immediately he does not have the amulet around his neck, but he
Oh
does
my
have a
God.
necklace.
I forgot about the amulet not being there.
Yeah.
He so my question was, is it intentionally not the amulet because he's maybe already starting to resent it? Because this is his wish.
No,
Or
I think
is
it's
this
because
his Jin fever dream self trying to make sure something is around his neck to represent the amulet?
I
Because
think
even
what
in
it
a wish where he
is.
and Sam aren't close, he needs a representative of Sam.
I don't think it's well, and that's what I think we need to establish is because like I think the reality of the alternate universe is established. So there wouldn't be a Samulet there because I think the wish is the wish, but then how the wish is constructed is the gen. So it's kind of like the monkey paw, like where you get make the wish, but then the reality of the wish can be horrifying
Hmm.
despite what your intentions were. And so my understanding or how I interpret it is that he wishes that I could they could have like just a regular life, but because they're not close enough in the regular life, a Samulet could never like exist. And so
Right.
they
Sam would have never had the chance to pick it up, even.
yeah, he wouldn't
Well,
even
right,
be
sure.
thoughtful enough. So like I don't know. Like I feel like I think it's a sweet thing to think like maybe that necklace is like Dream Dean trying to keep this amulet alive, but I think Dean's just a necklace guy. So like in the alternate reality, he's just like I don't have a close react relationship to my brother, so I don't have a special necklace from him, but I do like a gold chain. And I've assumed probably Carmen got it for him.
Yeah, she probably did.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted it to be Lisa because I remembered
Hmm.
thinking, is it Lisa? But it's not,
No,
unfortunately.
no. I do have some quibbles with the logic of this episode, but we
Hmm.
could talk about that later because it's going to be a little side rant
You
and
you can talk about whatever you want. We don't care. The next thing I wrote was alternative reality. Sam is a cutie.
he is a
Yeah,
cutie,
my
but he's also kind of a dick.
No, okay, we're gonna talk about that. Christy, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say my first two notes for this episode, that first scene of Sam, he is so hot. Like in the
Yes,
hotel room on the phone with Dean, he is so
yes.
hot.
He's
And
so
then my next note,
beautiful this season.
my next note is so is Carmen.
Yes.
Yes. Buy panic,
Yep.
buy panic.
Yeah,
Yes, I
those are
love,
my first two notes.
for some reason, I don't think I've ever seen a woman named Carmen who wasn't drop dead gorgeous. Have y'all ever seen the L Word?
Yes.
Yes.
Carmen on that.
The original?
Yes.
Yes.
So stunning. So when they
Yes.
when they said Carmen like in this episode, I was like, of course she'd be called Carmen. She's
Of
stunning.
course.
Like she's so
Of
Hmm.
beautiful.
course. So Sam in Dean's dream and
Mhm.
his wish
Yeah.
is still lawyering. He's lawyering.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, Dean says at the end, he says, I wished that mom hadn't died. But can he truly be aware of what his wish was when he didn't intentionally make one? Like, because that would still mean that Sam has demon blood. It's just that
Well,
Mary
I
didn't
think I
like,
don't think it does mean that. I think if he's to say, I wish mom had never died, the Gen can kind of construct a world where
Yeah,
all of the things that align for Mary to die don't exist. And so,
right? But he's constructing a world that Dean would be less happy in because he only has Dean's brain to go off of. And he has to know in that brain somewhere that Sam is like priority number one. And he's not changing Dean's memories. So it's going to be old Dean in new life. Like that, this is where I start to have quibbles with the logic of the thing. So the Jinn can only have access to some thoughts, but not others.
but what do you mean?
Or,
Like, what's making you think that?
well, because if he's trying to create he's trying to create lives that these people will not want to wake up from
Right,
because that's how he can keep them the
right.
longest. So if he can somehow read his victims' minds,
Hmm.
then he would know that it's not a great idea to make Sam and Dean not friends here.
But like,
but
how do you know that that's how he does it? We don't actually know how he does it. Like, I think he just knows what Dean wants most. And so he constructs a reality that he thinks he'll like. And what kind of happens within that, it just kind of maybe happens naturally. I don't know. Like, I think you're putting rules on it that maybe aren't
right.
explicitly
I
stated.
I
just
mean,
I I just assumed that it was like the Jinn is granting that original dream, but all of the other parts that kind of fall into place are based off of like Dean's expectations of how that would come about. Like
Yeah, because
if
that could
mom,
be like his view of himself could be reflected
right,
in the type of
like
person
if
he
if
so
mom
was.
is still
I do
alive,
think his view of himself is definitely projected into this
Yeah. Christy, what were you
for
saying
sure.
about Mary?
I was just if mom is still alive, then of
Mhm.
course Sam would be at college.
Hmm.
That would make things, but Dean is still Dean, as you said, so
Hmm.
he would have had all these problematic behaviors
Yeah,
growing up
possibly.
that
Yeah.
would fit into this reality that's been created.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we're kind of maybe hitting on more truth here too. The separation of the boys might not have been something subconscious or consciously like Dean would have wished for, but it is a fear that he has that the only thing that they have
Right.
in common is hunting. And that the
Yes.
only way he got him back on the hunting trail with him is to take him away from college. So if, I think it's an interesting thing where it's like it's not necessarily all of his memories, but maybe just all of the things he that can be read within Dean, his insecurities, his fears, and just like it just like constructs like a reality to kind of like create a bumper. But because of Dean and Sam's connection being so like extreme, but also Dean's insecurities being so extreme, like the dream that Dean is able to manifest still has these holes in it that cause him. Also, he's a hunter, like he's going to figure out, wait a second, like
Yeah, this
Wait
isn't
a
like some
second.
of the other alternate realities where they've had to realize that something's wrong. He
Yeah.
has all of his memories and instincts
Or
and
needed
hunting
Bobby to
drive.
point them out
Yeah,
to him.
right. He's got all of that stuff still intact.
Mhm.
So yeah, of course when he sees the girl, the other victim, he thinks
Mhm.
ghost because that's what she looks like in
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
world.
And I think part of it too, like I think he would have come to it maybe a little more quickly, if he didn't want it to be true so badly.
He
Right.
wants it
Like
to be
he
true.
just, again, he kind of accepts that maybe in some way this is the life that he wanted
Yeah.
for Sam. Um,
Yeah.
if it
Oh,
hadn't been for hunting.
yeah. I think that's one of the things that got me the most was how much he loved watching Sam with Jess. Like seeing Jess walk in.
Yes.
Glamazon, like what, 6 feet tall,
Oh
the
my
most
God.
curly blonde, beautiful hair. She's just stunning. And I was just like watching Jensen play. He plays it so soft and tender, like he's so happy. Dean interacting with Mary, like absolutely beside himself. It like breaks my heart. Like him
Mhm.
like it like seeing her for the first time. But like the confusion is really funny and sweet that he does. But those moments where he's watching Sam be happy and like hearing that he's in Stanford and then wanting to be like, we got these beautiful women on our arms. Let's go celebrate. You're engaged. Like
And
that
then
is
Sam drops the bomb.
that is what is so beautiful to me about those moments. And it does, it sucks that like then it's like, okay, but like
We
we
don't,
aren't friends. Like we
we
don't
see
really
each other
like
at
each other.
holidays. And then we
Because you're
find
the
out
well, because you're the
the,
kind of guy that can like break into mom's house and steal silverware, and I'm kind of
yes,
like used to it.
Mhm.
Like,
he's stolen Sam's like ATM card.
mhm.
Like
His prom date.
his prom date on prom night. Like
He's a
he
piece of shit, honestly, in this
Sam has
reality.
so much reason to have gone
No
low
contact.
contact
Hmm.
with Dean, and Dean finding that out is like, well,
Devastating.
shit, that is
Yeah.
like the opposite of what I'm supposed to do
Right.
Mhm.
And I do
because of
think
this.
like his subconscious is like constructing this scenario where it's like, well, without hunting, what am I? Nothing. I'd be a piece of shit. So then we expand that out to, well, then how will other people like react to that? Which is why it's funny that Carmen obviously is just like a nothing. She doesn't exist. She's just a hollow nothing and hot because no
Right.
woman's
She
gonna
is
put
the
up with the
stereotype.
bullshit. Yeah, no
She
real woman is
they
gonna put up with the
She's a
bullshit that Dean
nurse.
is saying
she's
that
a
he has
nurse.
done. Yeah, 100%.
She's a hot nurse.
Right.
I do think that their banter is cute though.
Oh, they're
When he's
precious.
like, how did I get a cool chick like you? And she's like, I just have low standards. I was like, oh, he
That's
needs a
cute.
person like that. That's
But
really cute. But
she's definitely a
yeah,
manic pixie dream girl, 100%, because like she is everything that's perfect and she puts up with his bullshit. Like absolutely not. Like obviously he's an alcoholic too, because everyone's like,
yes.
have you been drinking again? Like it's and
Everybody
so
keeps asking me that. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, because you're obviously like whatever part of you understands your identity, this is what you think that of yourself outside of hunting. And that's really sad. It's really
Um,
genuinely so sad.
and then the reveal at the end that Carmen is like the manifestation of a beer advertisement, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. He saw
Yep.
her face in a magazine advertising beer and just slotted her right into his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have had a love child with Lisa, but it's some beer girl that's in his alternate reality. But okay, fine. Fine, 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 fine. It's fine. It's fine.
They don't know about season 6 Lisa yet.
Okay. But like, don't they? They've already met Lisa, right? Is that
Have
true?
they?
I thought they did. When do they meet Lisa for the first time? Because Lisa's a return in season 6.
Yeah, I don't know that
Yeah,
she's been.
she is. But I
Because
don't,
they have an episode and the
yeah.
little boy is just like Dean. And then they're like, is that mine? And Lisa's like, hell no. And then like later
And then
on, they
later he
shack
comes
up and
back.
then it's like, well, yeah, it is. Like basically, they never confirm it, but it's obvious. They even give the little kid like a leather jacket. So it's just like season 3. Okay, great.
Okay.
So it's coming. But that's so I guess they hadn't yet established Lisa, but I was just like, that would have been a cool like
That would have been so
thing.
cool.
Mhm.
But if they had gotten the girl who played Carmen to play Lisa, that would have been a fun through line. But instead, she was a
Hmm.
beer commercial.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wrote even Dean's brain wish world
Brain visual.
has people who assume he's been drinking.
And it's just, yeah. I mean, that what it comes down to me is that whatever is within, I think here and here, that helps Dean and the Jeune to construct it because I think it's both of them.
Hmm.
It's very sad that this is what Dean created for himself based on that. I think it's very reflective of the way he views himself and the way he fears other people view him, and specifically Sam.
Right,
And
like his
yeah.
his happy moments early on in the episode are like getting to have a sandwich that his mom made, or
And
getting
Yes.
mowing
to
the lawn.
pretend to mow the lawn
I
Yep.
just
and wave at the neighbors.
and I
And the
want to
neighbors are like,
okay, weirdo.
Yeah,
But
what?
I want to touch on that. One of the notes that I took, lawnmower. There it is. I said Dean wanting to mow the lawn is like so precious. Like it really makes me want to cry. Um, and then Mary goes, "You think you'd never mowed a lawn before in your life?" And it's like,
Hmm.
wow, what a horrible thing to realize that like his life was so messed up that like mowing a lawn is actually like genuinely like exciting and like
Yeah,
healing for him. And I
a
wanted,
novel experience.
yeah,
it's
and
part of his happy life.
Yeah.
it's just doing a normal chore,
Hmm.
And I just feel like he does, how we discuss Dean often projecting onto Sam. And I think we always wanted to make that clarification that Sam wanted a safe life, not a normal life. And like there are times that Sam does say normal, but like safe is what he says often, the most often. And this scene with the mowing, to me I was like this is like the deepest desire of Dean's heart to enjoy a normal life. And so every time we see him kind of say, like, I want Sam to have that normal apple pie life, it's because that's what he wants for himself. Even though what he says is, oh, I'm a hunter and and that's who I am, that's what I'll always be. And I don't know, I just thought that this moment with the mowing was like deeply telling and also like heartbreaking.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, he works at a garage. He loves a sandwich. Like, he lives in the same town he was born in. Like, this is his normal life.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted.
Yeah. And I thought too, like, I don't know if you guys clocked the graduation photo of Mary and John at Sam's graduation of like a Dean Forrester era photo of Jared.
Yes.
But like I feel like it's like deeply hurtful considering like how it actually turned out, how like he was like kicked out of the house after he graduated for wanting to go to college. And then, like, the total opposite in this reality is
Mhm.
that they were supportive parents excited to go to their son's graduation.
Hmm.
So much of this narrative, at least while the storytelling still assumes we think it's a real universe. At this point, we still think it's real
Hmm.
if we're watching it for the first time, of course.
Right. Or
So
we're
much
like,
of the
what the
narrative,
hell is going on?
we're
Hmm.
like, it's um, it's exploring, and this is a trope that I do love. It's exploring the idea of you make your wish, it
Mhm.
changes one thing in the world, and what kind of bad things
Yeah. What
that you
ripples
didn't
out?
expect to happen
Mhm.
happen because of that.
Yeah.
And I love that from a storytelling perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's the interest and that's the hook. But and it's especially good when there are a ton of terrible things, but there are a ton of happy things, and you can deal with it. Dean even says, I can fix things with Sam. But in the end, like, he learns that he's actually been really bad to Sam. He's the one thing that matters the most isn't here in this world.
Yeah.
So that's like the culmination of this kind of storyline.
Yeah.
But we know that this is just a wish universe
Mm-hmm.
and that he is under a spell that the Jinn is using,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, to try to keep him like docile and under control and asleep so that he
Right.
can feed off of him. So you can make that argument that the Jinn's power takes a surface wish off the top of the victim's mind and just like runs along with it in a way that makes sense to the person until the person starts getting like unhappy enough that maybe the Jinn steps in
Mm-hmm.
to kind of guide it back on track. We don't know. As you were saying before,
Yeah.
we don't know how the Jinn's power works, but I think for me, the easiest explanation is that the writers are writing the story that we think we're in until we know we're not in that story. And then
Yeah.
they start writing the story that we're in now because
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing that preserves the revealing moments for just the moments they want to show
Mm-hmm.
when they want to show them to
Yeah.
mask the fact that he's not in a real world, he's in a dream world, even though it causes a little bit of logic bump, because it's way more impactful to mask that stuff and do things like give Dean a lot of happy moments and then show like a dying girl or a ghost, like the terrifying image, because that's more impactful than giving hints all along that this is maybe not real because it's too good to be true or whatever.
Yeah.
So like and I've talked before about how writers have to choose their priorities even if that priority means they have to be less accurate or they have to ignore a little bit of the logic of their story
Right.
because the goal of the story is to make an impact on people. So I get that like and in a show like this, yeah, go ahead and sacrifice a little bit of accuracy because like most people are not going to watch the episodes 100 times and then make a whole podcast out of them. So like you
Let's
know
hope not. Only us.
only us. Only us. So that was like my like quibble with the storytelling, but I I kind of worked myself through it by just saying they prioritized different things at different times based on the story. The viewer understood that they
At the
were watching
time.
because
Yeah.
we thought we were watching a uh an alternate universe um oh what did you call it?
An
It's a
alternate reality. Oh,
It's a
it's a
Wonderful
wonderful
Life
life. Mm-hmm.
kind of story. That obviously we would return to the other universe at the end because we have to because it's still supernatural.
Right.
But but then when we realize it's all a dream and none of it's real, we have to switch storytelling
Mm-hmm.
modes into something else.
Yeah,
So
because all of those issues could be avoided if the Jinn had just made Dean in the alternative reality unaware of the actual reality.
yes,
Like, and instead he wakes up and he still is the Dean of our reality. And so everything is crazy to him. It's like he
yes,
is hearing it all for the first time. And Mary's like, yeah, your dad died of a stroke. What's wrong with you? Like, and
right,
instead, if he had just like, but that's why I feel like he doesn't have control of Dean's mind. He just has control of what Dean can see and visualize and experience. And I believe that it would be an interesting idea, at least that maybe the Gen depends on his memories and feelings and emotions, his nervous system, and like just the muscle memory of his body to kind of like project what Dean already feels would be true if this was his wish.
yeah.
I'm about to sneeze.
I
Excuse
thought
me.
you were about to cry.
I'm so sorry. No, I have allergies. What if the one time I cry on this podcast, it's a Dean-centric episode?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I was trying to finish my sentence and also then sneeze, but then it just looked like I was breaking down into sobs.
I I thought that you were
I'm
about to
so
cry.
sorry to scare you, but I am very grateful for your concern. That's very sweet.
Um
One of my notes says this wide shot reveals Dean's bow legs. Do you guys remember like that I mean he's bow-legged. In like the cutest, most like hashtag positive. How did they say that? Like brackets positive. But like I think there's a point where like oh, that's it. He drops one of the photo frames because like he sees like I guess his mom is alive, and then and the camera follows the drop, but then you see Dean walk out the door and his little bow leg. He's like walking like a cowboy. He's like storming out.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Aw," but it's also funny that like we understand why Dean is acting this way, but like if I were those women in the alternative reality, I would be freaked out. I'd be like, "Are
Yeah.
you have a brain tumor? Like what's wrong?" Like Mary's like, "Okay, just sleep on the couch, no big deal." I would be like calling 911. I'd be like, "He has no memory of anything. He's acting like a totally different person. Like, is he having a mental breakdown? What's going on?"
He
Right?
learns that dad died of a stroke, and his response is, "Oh, that's great."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then
And Mary's
Mary's
like,
like, is my
eh?
son a sociopath? Like, what are we doing?
But
But
also, I mean, it probably had something to do with not getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan back for schedule or whatever. But I think it's fun to note that Wish World also doesn't have dad in it.
because that's what makes it a better world. Like, I think
Right.
like a part of Dean, I know like you said, it could be scheduling, but like let's just death of the author for a second. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it works because I think deep down, Dean understands life would have been better without dad.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. Like,
Period.
period. Duh.
He's
So,
kind of
I mean,
he's
my
more
life has been
effective.
better since John died, so
He's more effective in this case as like a ghost to kind of haunt that narrative rather than as a active presence.
yes.
yeah. Well,
And it would have
and
taken away like the reunion that we get in the final
Yes.
episode to
yeah,
have him on like 4 days before.
right, that's true.
Well, and
But
it would have been a
it
lot
also,
for one episode.
Yeah.
yeah, it would have overloaded the episode, but it also has the effect of giving us now Dean had a childhood and a growing up with John.
Hmm.
Now he can, even though he didn't experience it and has no memories of it, in
Hmm.
this world, he had a childhood and a growing up with mom instead. Well, I mean, he only died last year, but like he had at this point from here on,
Hmm.
it's a mom life
Right.
Hmm.
rather than a dad life, which is the only one he knows right now.
Hmm.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that we have more you already mentioned the sandwich, but like it's more food acting for Jensen. Just add it to the
Yeah,
Yeah.
list.
more food for Jensen.
And then when Sam gets out of the car for the first time with Jess, his hair is like straightened. So it's like, okay, so the girlie is teaching him how to do his hair or whatever. And you can like, it's
I
noticeably different.
I wrote down how much of a change that makes to Sam's character just by styling his hair different. It's amazing.
Agree.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously, yeah, it does.
You
Speak.
know this isn't our Sam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our Sam would
I
never
did
use this flat iron.
I wrote
It's a heavy hitter, I would say, even though Sam is like not even in it really.
yeah. It was something about, I can't find it now, but it was something about how good Jared is at creating this character that we know is Sam. Undeniably,
Mm.
this is Sam,
Hmm.
but at the same time is not our Sam.
Right. It's
Like
Hmm.
it's a
walking
Sam.
that line,
Hmm.
he's so good at walking that line, and I might have written something clever about it, but I can't find it in my notes. So
I pointed out that it's just like really sweet that despite clearly not really liking the person Dean is, that like alternate reality Sam is still our Sam and that he is still visibly concerned. And despite like the bad blood between them because of what a piece of shit that version of Dean in that reality is, he still is like he hesitates after like that exchange about, well, we don't talk outside the holidays. We don't? Well, we should. We're brothers. And like Sam has to be like, okay, well, okay, but like what about all these things you used to do to me? Like were you brothers then? And then like Dean's like, what the hell's going on? And like kind of they break apart and like go their separate ways and like there's a moment that they linger on Sam and he's like concerned and I just think I don't know. I don't know if that's what you were kind of getting at, but like
That
he's
might have been
still
part of it.
Sam.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah,
still
he's
our
still Sam.
Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Mm,
think that speaks again to that, like maybe, but I mean, Tall Tales is silly, but it speaks again to like the way Dean sees himself versus the way he sees Sam versus like Sam is still Sam in
mhm.
this reality. And I earlier you said he was kind of a dick, but what did you mean by that? Because I don't agree.
But that was a note at the very beginning of the episode where Sam is like dismissive before you find out that he has like good reason to be kind of
Yeah,
distant
he's
with
just like
Dean.
standoffish, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like
Mhm.
standoffish. I think that he seems like a dick because he's so not like that in real
Yeah.
life that the comparison is like, wow, you're mean. When a normal person could just be that and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that and not be called a dick because
Well, and I think
they're not as good as Sam is in real life.
like Dean, we're expecting Sam to like interact with Dean like they're brothers, but like to
Mhm.
Sam in this reality, they are essentially strangers, and he's
Yeah.
like an unpleasant stranger at that. And so who they actually have bad history with. And so like it does strike us because we know them in a different way, but like when you consider what's going on, that's exactly how I would interact with someone in my family that I was going low
Mhm.
contact with.
Yeah. Yep. That was my wherever
Mhm.
it was, that was my comment. Like I
Yeah.
understand why he's basically gone no or low contact with.
Yeah.
And I did write, if this were a Dean podcast, of course we'd be talking about how even in his wish world, he's a hustler alcoholic and how
Mhm.
he could easily have wished for monsters to just not exist, but instead torments himself by making sure that the things he stopped in the real world still happened in this one, only no one got saved. But it's not a Dean podcast,
It's a
so we'll move
guilt.
on.
It's the guilt. I mean, and like I think it's important to dig into
Yeah.
who Dean is because he's so, I mean, integral to Sam and his story. And I think you're spot on. Like Dean is so shattered within and has such a horrible outlook on himself. I think it's not off base to interpret this to be an extremely sad look at how he views himself. That even
Yeah.
in his dream world, he has to feel the guilt and of the duty that his dad inflicted upon them his entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know it's seriously sad because there's two man tears in
There's
this one.
two single man tears. They fall at the same
They fall at
time.
the same time. Yeah.
It's
That's how you
so
know it's
sad.
very serious.
Let's talk about that monologue for a second because like
Yeah.
he is so fabulous in this moment. So like he goes after he realizes that they're not close and he realizes like everybody who they saved is now dead because they weren't able to save them because they're not hunters. And he's just crying at his father's fake grave because he's actually doesn't have a grave at this point because they burned him. Right? They don't have graves for hunters. They just have hunters' funerals. Is that true?
I guess. What do they do
Right?
with the ashes?
I don't know what they did with the ashes. That's what I'm kind of wondering. But either way, in this like fake reality, he goes and he's just like crying. He's like, why do I have to be a hero? Why doesn't mom get to live her life? Why doesn't Sammy get to get married? Why do we always have to sacrifice everything? But what does he say
Yeah.
for himself? Like he doesn't have a version of what dream life he wants to live. Like
Yeah.
the dream life that he is living is that of kind like we said, like we've established a piece of shit. And I
Hmm.
just even when he's sitting there like begging his dad's tombstone for answers, he doesn't even mention what he wants for
Like a
himself.
specific thing for himself. It's like he's an
Yeah.
NPC.
And it's really
Like,
deeply disturbing to me that, like, even in his own dream world, and maybe this is why the dream world didn't hold up for him and it didn't work for the Jinn to keep him within because he has such an empty view of his own identity without hunting, and he has such low self-esteem about what he'd be without it that, like, it was an unsustainable wish.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's so
Mhm.
sad.
he does decide that he has to revert this wish.
Yeah.
He decides he has to revert this wish after that conversation with Dad's gravestone. He says, well, I don't remember what he says, but he has decided I'm gonna go hunt the Jinn again.
Yeah.
and I'm going to make it revert this wish so
Hmm.
that we have saved all of those people. And Sam and I will be close. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fix this,
I,
and I'm just gonna have to go back. And it's not until he finds the gin, and of course Sam comes with him, and we get that lovely the mirror scene to the pilot episode.
yeah, I was gonna say, and Sam is even wearing a similar outfit as he did in the pilot, and Jess is even sleeping on her side above the covers, like she
Yeah,
does in the pilot. Which I was like, why does she sleep above the covers all the time?
I mean, maybe she's like me, just like sweaty.
Maybe I just always think it was because that that always stood out to me in the pilot where she was in like hot shorts, sleeping on her side above the covers in the pilot. I was like, that's so weird. And then they recreated it like beat for beat. It was really good.
Yeah, yeah. Except for this time, he didn't do a reversal on Dean. He
Mm-mm.
didn't get the upper hand on Dean
Because he can't, because he's
because he
out of
can't.
shape, because he's just a
He
lawyer
he's
boy.
he's not a hunter here.
Yeah.
And of course he catches Dean stealing silver, um,
He owes a
which we
bookie.
know, yeah, which we know he needs silver to kill the Jinn.
Right.
But so he's already decided he has to go hunt the Jinn to get reality back. He's decided to get reality back before he realizes that it's a dream. Like he still fully thinks this is real and he
Yeah.
still wants to revert it back.
Well, I feel like there's part of him that knows it's not sustainable. Like he's like, so like I think like the only thing he knows to do in a situation is to hunt. Like he goes to his daddy cries, which I think is funny. Like he gets his feelings out and then he's like, okay, now I'm gonna buck up and do what I know dad would tell me to do. And he's like, I'm gonna hunt and hopefully the answers will come from that. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Hmm.
He's like, okay, this is what's familiar to me. Everything else here, I don't know what the fuck is going on. But there's an apparition, and I know what the fuck to do with that. So I'm just gonna do it. And what I love is that Sam is like, okay, well, I'm coming with you because you're acting like a psycho. And
Yeah.
and he gets in the car, and Dean's like, you can't come, you're gonna be in my way. And he goes, tough. And then and he's like, no, you can't come. And he's like, well, I'm your brother, and that's that. And I was like, he's so cute. Like he's so sassy still. He's still like you were
He's still
saying,
Sam.
he's still
Yeah.
Sam. He's sassy Sam. And
Yeah.
so then the like he I don't know why Dean did this, but he's trying to do that bitch jerk thing, and he's like, bitch. And the look on Sam's
I
face,
love that. I
he's like,
love that look so much.
man, why'd you call me a bitch? Like it's
What do
so
you He's like
funny.
he like wrinkles up his nose and he like backs up a little bit. He's like, what
What'd
do
The
you
you
call
call
me
me a
a
scrunchy
bitch
bitch
face.
for?
for?
Yes.
It's so fucking funny.
I love it so much. And Dean is like has the presence of mind to look a little bit embarrassed about it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
he
supposed
wants
to say jerk.
you're supposed to say jerk, and he's
He's
like,
like, he
huh?
just stares at him more and is like, what? It's just it's such a good moment.
But Dean wants that. I mean,
He wants
Sam
that.
getting in the car while Dean is going on a hunt is like the
He want,
closest this
yeah.
universe has been to the good parts of his own old universe yet. And so he's like, ooh, maybe I can make this work. No, 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 I still have to kill the Jinn. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have my brother back.
Well, and it's funny.
Like,
It would be funny if he had done it like a question, like, bitch, and then
bitch,
bitch, like shit,
like,
bitch.
bitch,
It's
I'm gonna
so
take
funny.
the
And
and you say
ooh, well,
jerk.
we've discussed how much we don't like that, but in this context, it was pretty funny because Sam had the reaction that I think he should have. Because why'd you call me a
Yeah.
bitch for?
What you call me a bitch for?
Hmm.
But like,
Yeah.
let's talk about because we've talked already through like the Gen like logistics and like that he's hanging blood bags and like it's horrific and scary.
Oof.
And so when he comes um close, like when Dean finally comes close to stabbing himself and they all kind of drop the facade and all the characters kind of come. I want to talk about Jared's acting because he switches from Sam like being very like concerned and Sammy to and being like stop, don't do it to being very like I don't want to say like deadpan, but like there's a softness in his face that switches to not Sam. And you're like, oh. And he starts talking, you know what I'm saying? Like he's like, "Oh, it could have been easy. We could have just kept living this way. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to do this." And I think the acting in that moment is so good because it's a lot to do in that moment for Jared because we know him so well as Sam. And so now he has to be like somebody else completely, and he just nails it. As we've said,
Yeah.
his face can do so many things, and and
Yeah.
subtly, right? Like the nuance is crazy. Also, I hated Sam's stupid yellow tie earlier in the store. I just thought it
Yeah.
was. I love that they all got dressed up for Mary's birthday. I thought that was
That
cute.
was so
I
nice.
was
That
like,
was
why
so
are you wearing
cute.
that ugly ass tie? But I guess that's what a lawyer would wear back then. I don't know,
I
like a
Yeah,
lawyer.
guess.
all of Dream Sam's outfits were bad.
I guess Jess has him do like does his hair, but like also maybe dresses him, and I don't know.
I
Like
don't
he has like
know.
a different sense of style, but
Well, so
um
Jared, back to what you were saying,
mhm.
Audrey, Jared's little face. I mean, I didn't get that he was like blank so much as he goes immediately into what he thinks will stop Dean because he says, "You were happy. Why is it our job to save everyone?"
Yeah, but
And
it's
then he
not
says
to
the
me, it's
thing that
not
Dean always
Sam.
says,
That's the
right?
difference to me.
Right. But
Yeah.
then he says the thing that Dean always says, which is, "I'm begging you." So like those are things I feel like off the top of like Dean's brain are things the Jinn is hoping will make Dean decide to stay.
Right, because it's the Jen, it's not
Because
Sam.
it's
And
the Jinn.
that's
Mhm.
what I'm talking about is like
Yeah.
Jared's the subtle change between being Sam to being not Sam.
Right,
Right,
those
right, right.
acting
Mhm.
choices to show
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
difference. Yeah.
So good.
And then I said, why did Sam have to end this episode with that awful shirt? And it's like truly the most horrendous shirt.
I wrote about the
I
shirt because I knew that you would
Hate
hate
it.
it.
I
I hate
wrote
it.
that I liked the shirt.
That red inside out thing?
I
I
like
don't
that
hate
shirt.
it.
Girl, I hate it more than the Rusty Bacon shirt. I've already said that like a few times this season, but like me and that shirt have beef now.
He's worn it before, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
Hate
But
So
it.
I'm glad that
so
you like it. But I
so
don't.
Dean so Dean stabs himself
Hmm.
and gasps awake. And we go from looking at Sam to looking at Sam, actual Sam.
And that's what I love is that through all this bullshit, we've been like locked away in an alternate reality. Sam's been off camera doing an amazing job, like
Hmm.
tracking Dean down after he never came home that
Hmm.
night when he asked Dean, "Hey, come pick me up first." Hello, should listen to
Hello.
your brother.
I just tracked this thing down on my own.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
And he goes,
so
Auntie
he's
M, and you were there, and you were there.
um and of course, so Sam is like, "Oh, you're awake. I thought I lost you there for a minute." And starts trying to free Dean, and then the Jinn shows up. And can I just say, Sam runs, he drops the knife because
Mhm.
the Jinn like twists it out of his hand, and he starts running up the stairs.
Mhm.
And he hits that staircase so
So hard,
hard,
like multiple times. It's like bam, bam, bam. I
like
was
right on his head, and then flips over and hits it again. And I'm just
And then he starts using his weird gen powers, like his hand is
yeah,
like glowing or
Hmm.
whatever. And I was just like, oh my God. But
yeah, that's
I did like that Dean got to stop him with the
yeah,
lamb's blood because he had
yeah.
that ready to go in the dream.
Yeah. And then Sam also had it ready to go outside of the dream.
Yeah,
And
again, when
so,
sinking, even if they're not on the same plane.
yeah. So she didn't have to kill herself to wake up. They were just able to wake him up, the
Yeah, I
girl.
think like no one was there to wake Dean up. And so if to wake yourself up from within the dream, maybe you have to hurt
Mm,
yourself. But like since
yeah.
they were there to save her, they could be like, hey, like, and they were able to
Slap, slap.
unplug her and like,
Plus the Jinn
And
was
probably
dead.
the magic was
Yes.
gone with him dead.
mm,
I didn't think of that.
So this is really niche, but I have to say the actress for that other victim,
hmm.
did any of you guys watch Winona Earp when it was on?
I
Yes.
watched a little
Yes.
bit with you guys, I
That's
think.
Winona.
Shut up.
That's why she looks
Okay.
so familiar. Oh shit.
So like my nerd heart was so happy because we had Winona Earp this episode and Jess is Bobby Morse in
Yes.
the Marvel
Agents
universe.
Mhm.
Agents of Shield. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
like, from a
Yeah.
nerd
Well, she's
perspective, this is
also
a great episode.
she's
Mhm.
also on, well, she was, I guess, on the Orville, if
Yep.
anybody's a fan of the Orville. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good folks in this episode. I didn't I knew she looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out from what, and I didn't
As
look it
soon
up.
as I saw her the first time, I had to look it up. Like, I swear that's who it is.
Hmm.
I love that.
That's so good.
I
I
love
love
when
that.
that happens where you're like, it's like a little like reunion slash
Mhm.
like you're like, hey,
Yeah.
crossover I didn't know I needed. All right, do we want to do final thoughts and then review not review. We already did the we just reviewed it.
We just did that.
Rate it.
Yeah.
My
Let's
last
see.
thought is just like Sam is so sweet to Dean at the end and he deserves to be treated like that in return and he Dean is like we've lost so much, we've sacrificed so much, like he's really going through it, and that's when Sam is like, it's worth it, Dean, it's not fair but people are alive because of you. I think like that validation is just so kind and like so sweet.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I yeah, I love that. Um I I have one final thought.
Okay.
Um so in other episodes, we will see Dean talking up the whole family business. People will die if we don't do this job, blah 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 blah. Kind of giving Sam a little bit of business for wanting to step away even for a little bit. Um, he seems pretty happy here, even though he's seeing a ghost girl from time to time. Like in his mind, ghosts still exist, but it's just not his job to hunt them. But I
Maybe he's
just,
trying to like he's really good at denial. I think maybe he's
yeah,
he's just trying to like push that away and be like, no,
yeah.
I get to enjoy this.
Yeah, I wrote maybe I'm being too hard on him and he's planning to go save people after a few days of like being normal, but now he just likes to mow the lawn and eat sandwiches. And like
Yeah. And I
usually
mean,
that's something he would get mad about.
to be fair to Dean, like if there are people in the world who do get to just live normal lives and they're hunters.
Why can't he be one of them?
And so in his dream, I guess he's just, I get to be that, even
Yeah.
though I know what that,
Mhm.
is or whatever.
I did get kind of weirded out about how hard he hugged Jess when he saw
He
her.
was so
Like,
excited to
he's
see her.
so excited. He's so happy that she and Sam are still together and that she's alive. But I'm like, Dean, you never actually knew her. Like, you met her for 10 minutes while she was in her underwear after you broke into her apartment. She
Yeah,
doesn't know you here
but well,
really
yes, she
much at all.
does.
Well, yes, she does. She
That's
does,
her
but she knows,
brother-in-law. Like they're
but she
going to be brothers
that's
and
true. That's
like
true. But
so they do
she
know each
probably
other.
knows, she's probably knows him a lot more
I
in
think
this
Dean
universe.
is 100%, and I
But
think Dean
but
is,
he's a not a good person
but
in
he
this
doesn't know
universe.
that. He is
Yeah,
he
that's
is
true.
he is thinking, "Oh, it's a we're family. Oh my God, I'm going to go hug my
Yeah.
sister-in-law." Like he's thinking, if this is like the world I want, he's acting how he would want to be in that. He doesn't realize that his deeply disturbed
Yeah,
self-esteem has
he
created
does
actually
not.
a past that makes him a piece of shit,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I mean that's how I would hug all of
Yeah.
my cousins, all of
That
my cousins-in-law, but
yeah.
I like them and they like me, like he doesn't
Right.
realize that at
And
that
you
point.
have an experience with them and he's just assuming he has an experience with her that's positive and
Well,
familial.
because so far everything
So
he's
far,
done to
yeah.
act like he doesn't know things is thrown everybody off. So
Yeah,
now he's just
everybody's
gonna
like,
throw
"Are you
himself
drinking?
into it like,
Are you drinking?"
"Hey," and he's so excited. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
appropriate if he wasn't such a piece of shit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It
I'm
makes
just
me so
grumpy because
sad.
there's so little real Sam in this episode.
Do we run Christy, do you have any final thoughts before we rate it?
I Yeah, I think we covered
We
most of
got
it at
him.
this point. I do wish we had kept the kind of that introspective Dean that we get at the end
I know.
for a bit longer. Like these were two good Dean episodes,
Very
and
good.
it
Yeah.
goes to shit real fast.
It's very hurtful.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, I'm not excited, but I am excited for season three because I really, really enjoy season three. But that'll be like kind of our last heyday with our man, Dean,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
we're going to war starting season.
He, oh my God, yeah.
Okay, let's rate this thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So we are going to do our wardrobe descriptor first. Horrendous, adorable, genuinely good or terrible, but great. So, Elle, what did you say?
I wrote, wish Sam looks good, but real Sam is wearing that shirt.
Yeah, it's awful.
The thing is, I used to really like that shirt, and I think that you have like poisoned my mind against
No
it.
offense. I don't know how anyone could like that shirt. It's awful.
I refuse to bow to peer pressure here. I like that shirt.
Christy,
I would wear that
Christy,
Okay.
shirt.
bring me back over to the side of good.
I would wear that shirt. I
I
would.
I feel like I have worn shirts like that.
Yeah.
Like
It's just so awful.
It's like this weird
Why?
flowery
It's
paisley inside out. I
it's
love
inside
it.
yeah, like the
out.
pattern is on the inside, but the
Ugh,
seaming of the shirt
it's so
is,
unpleasant to
is
me.
like inside out.
It's an
Um,
affront to my eyes. To my eyes.
you know what? I think I really enjoy that he has a shirt like that. Like it's a weird shirt. It's a
Okay.
weird shirt, and I
It's a
like that Sam has a weird shirt.
All
Like
right, so what did you say?
oh, I said like whatever the average is, adorable but nothing special.
Okay. Adorable's
That's
fine.
what I
Okay.
because Wish Sam looks really good though. Wish Sam
Okay.
looks really good.
Christy, what did you say?
I wrote down because I forgot our scale that his overall wardrobe, even with the shirt at the end, was atrocious. I hated Dream Sam's
I did
clothes,
not like
his
any
look.
of Dream Sam's clothes.
Yeah, I said
It's so
horrendous.
horrendous. Yeah.
I didn't hate
I
the
liked his
shirt
hair.
that he wore. I didn't hate the shirt he wore with Dean in the car, but like that was the only one, and that yellow ass tie like pissed me off. And then we got back to regular Sam and he changed into an offensive shirt. So I was just like, okay, goodbye.
That
Goodbye.
shirt called my mother names.
Like, how dare you
Um,
wear that?
I increased I didn't like any of Wish Sam's clothes.
Mhm.
But I liked his hair
I liked his
situation.
hair.
I liked his hair situation. So
Really?
His-
I bumped it up from horrendous to
See, I hated his hair.
I
Maybe
wanted
yeah.
to
it's
be
like the
Floop, and then it
millennial.
was
Oh
It's the
yeah, that's
millennial in
true.
me. I can't do the middle part.
it was so straight.
I can't dig it.
It was too
Yeah.
straight, not floopy enough. But it was fine. I mean, I didn't hate his hair, but I freaking hated that shirt. Okay. Sam friendly scale.
Yes.
Screen time on a scale from 0, I guess, to 5. Elle, what did you give for screen time?
2.
Okay. Fair. Christy?
I gave it a 2.5.
Okay. I gave it a 2 also. So yeah, we're all kind of on the same vibe for that because he's not really there. And when he is, it's not really him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's complicated. All
Except for
right.
at the end where he's lovely and sweet. So
And that
yeah.
ugly ass shirt. Enjoyment. Elle, how much did you enjoy this episode?
I have been rating the others on how much I enjoy it from a Sam perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I feel like it would be fair to continue in that vein. I did
sure.
enjoy the episode in general.
Yeah,
I think it's fun. But if I was watching this
yeah.
for Sam, 2. What Sam?
To where he go?
Where'd he
Okay,
go?
where he go? Christy, what did you say?
I gave it a 1.5. Kind of the same
Fair.
thing. I adore this episode,
Mm-hmm.
but if we're watching for Sam, then we're not getting anything.
Yeah, where is
Yeah,
he? Yeah,
we're not enjoying Sam in this episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again, because there was so much to dig into with Dean to me really speaks to how he's going to interact with Sam and why he interacts with Sam the way that he does and the way that he views himself is going to like directly inform how he interacts with Sam. So I said 3.2 for enjoyment. I thought it was good information as a Sam fan. I enjoyed understanding better how he views himself and therefore his relationships and therefore specifically Sam. And that the whole point of the episode was to drive home how important their connection is. So I didn't
Mhm.
mind giving it a higher score, but I definitely understand why you guys gave it a lower score for that. The last one is Hard Eyes. Elle, what did you give it?
I'm gonna increase the heart eyes.
Okay.
Well, not from where I had it. It's just gonna be higher than the other scores
The Sam
because
tax.
the Sam tax,
Mm,
because how he extends this compassion to Dean at the
yeah.
end, and he's understanding and um, validating, but
Mhm.
still encouraging
Yeah.
and like trying to let Dean know that his feelings are like super valid, but also
Yeah.
it is worth it. You are doing good.
Yeah.
People are alive because of you. Like Dean needs to hear that. It's part of the whole reason he decided he needed to come this universe needed to come back is
Right.
because people that he once saved were now dead
Right.
and he couldn't take it.
Right.
Which understandable.
Right.
Like damn, but for that reason, I'm bumping this to like a 3.5.
Okay. Christy, what did you say?
I gave it a 3.25 just because that scene at the end,
Yeah.
everything that Elle said, like it was great, but also he just looks so pretty at the beginning.
Yeah. All right. I gave it a just a flat three. I thought it was like kind of like an average Hard Eyes. Like there was nothing to me that was like whoa, like jumpsuit, whoa, like he had his V-neck on, or like it wasn't anything like that, or the how I love the tenderness with the victims often. He just
Hmm.
kind of was just there, kind of pretty because he is pretty, and like that was kind of it. So all right, we rated this. My average for this one was a 2.7. And L, yours was a 2.5. Christie's, yours was a 2.4. So overall,
Oh,
this episode gets a 2.55.
Wow.
I know it's
I was a
low.
harsh rater in this one.
Well, it's hard when the scale is about Sam and Sam's not really there, despite it being a
Yeah,
Yeah.
great episode. So
Yeah, I
these
forget
were
what
two
I for
rough episodes for that.
yeah,
yeah,
they were both
yeah.
Dean centric and still
Well, that
very
makes
good.
sense
Hmm.
because the next two episodes
Hmm.
revolve around
Hmm.
Sam. I mean, I think that Dean is still a large part of them because of how they're constructed, but they're very like Sam is the center of them.
We're about to get
Yeah.
So it
some
makes sense.
grade A
Yeah.
Jensen crying in the next episode.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh
God, I'm
yeah.
not
Oh
ready. I'm
gosh.
not ready,
Oh
you
man.
guys.
Um,
Well, thank you for spending what seems like no time and so much time all at the same time with me tonight. I love having you guys on, and I'll see you again soon.
thanks for listening to
Goodbye.
me rant.
We love it. That's what we're here
Bye.
for. Bye.
Bye guys.